What's up, San Diego?
This is San Diego sports. The wins, the losses, the moments that matter, and the opinions that come with them.
Padres have clinched the playoffs in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 05 and 06.
No hype, no filter. Just the truth about your teams, your city, and the people who care about it most.
The reality is the expectations are higher now for this club than they were in 2019 and 2020 when the Padres hadn't made the playoffs that many times.
He's been here. He knows this city. And now he's leading the conversation every single day. Live and local on 97.3 The Fan.
This is fun. We're doing this for fun. This is fun. Have fun. Enjoy the fun with us having fun.
Now, here's Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego, and a happy trade deadline day to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Today's show is going to be all about keeping you updated on what's going on the MLB trade deadline, whether it is Padres related or not. We are going to be the place that you can tune into all day long for at least the next 4 hours when it comes to what's happening on the trade market. And there are moves happening all over the place right now. I mean, just from my time driving from my practice this morning to work, there was about, 8 trades that seemed like it happened. I mean, they keep flying off the board. Now, are any of them major blockbusters? No, not really. And I think you already got your major blockbuster deal over the weekend, which, by the way, we're going to get to that eventually. And it might not be until tomorrow. But I got a lot of thoughts on the Tarik Skubal to the Dodgers situation for Major League Baseball. And I have a lot of thoughts from a Padres perspective. I mean, from a Padres perspective, who cares, guys? Honestly, who cares? This is a team that was already the favorite to win the World Series anyway. What difference does it make if they increase their odds of doing it? It doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares? Now, from a baseball perspective, I think this really flips the shift on a lot of people that might have been on the fence for the new CBA in terms of who they're rooting for, which, by the way, you shouldn't be rooting for anybody in labor negotiations, like, at all. But I think a lot of people are turned off by the move of the Dodgers acquiring Tarik Skubal, and I understand it. Now, I get that more from a national perspective than a local one. Like, from a local one, who cares? All right, you can't be complaining about every time the Dodgers make a move, and there is some truth to the fact that other teams could have stepped up. I agree with the sense that other teams can't do what the Dodgers do on a daily basis. I agree with that. But I can't sit here and say that the Brewers and the Rays couldn't possibly match what the Dodgers gave up for Tarik Skubal. In fact, if you want to be mad at somebody, I would be mad at the Brewers, who continually never, ever do anything bold, and that's why they never, ever win. They never once put it all on the line. They never do it. We'll wait and see. But in terms of like big moves where you're putting everything on the line, that move has been made. The Dodgers did it. The Tigers made the deal on Saturday, which was dumb, I think, on their part. They could have waited up to the last minute, got a bidding war. But instead, they're like, yeah, sure, we'll take these guys that have +4 ERAs in the minor leagues. Sure. Yeah, okay. Here's River Ryan. Yeah, he's a prospect that we got from the Padres. Yeah, he's like 30 years old. I'm sorry, 30 years old. He's coming off a Tommy John surgery, has north of a 4 ERA right now, and that's the guy that you wanted? I mean, Detroit, I don't know what you're thinking. I'm sure we'll see what Kyle Glaser has to say about that move. We're going to have him on near the end of the show. But come on, man. Come on. Guy was a big deal a long time ago. He went up, he had a cup of coffee in the pros. He was very good, and then he got hurt, and he hasn't been the same. I mean, it's the reason why the Dodgers gave him up. Same with everything else in that organization. Okay, so, he's not going to be the world beater that I think maybe the Tigers thought he was. I get from the Tigers' perspective that you have to let someone go when he's going to be a free agent that you're not going to pay for. But I will tell you, I think the Brewers royally messed that up over the weekend because they don't have what it takes to be a winning organization. What it takes to be a winning organization is putting everything on the line and making the move that drastically changes your World Series odds. That is the time. If you were waiting, Brewers, for your big moment, that was it. You missed it. Like, it was, you go get Tarik Skubal. You pair him with Mizorowski, and you flip the script on the World Series odds. You make yourself a high contender for the World Series. And they didn't do it. Who knows what they offered? Who knows if the Tigers even floated it out to anybody else going here's what the Dodgers did. We will know more of the details probably as the week goes on. The Brewers royally screwed up this entire trade deadline. The only move now that Milwaukee could make that would make a lot of sense, that would be the big, bold move to get him over the hump, would be to trade for Mason Miller, which we have already said in San Diego, that is not happening. In fact, the report this morning was the fact that they weren't going to trade away Morejon either. So we'll see how the rest of the trade deadline plays out. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think, be mad at the Dodgers all you want. It's nothing crazy. They started asking all these players about, the Dodgers got Tarik Skubal. Most of the players are like, they have everybody already. Who cares? It doesn't change anything. If you want to be mad at someone, you got to be mad at Milwaukee. I never thought the Rays had the guts to make that move anyway. I didn't think they were really in it for Tarik Skubal. But the Brewers disappointed me this weekend by not having any guts. No guts to go out there and try to win a World Series. And you know what? I will listen to the reasons why they can't do that. And it goes back to money. This is why you can't say anybody could have done this. Well, the reason why Milwaukee has to hang on to guys like Made and their top prospects is because they survive by letting their best players walk when they get too expensive and replacing them with studs that they keep. They can't afford to do that every single year. They can't afford to trade those guys. They can't do it. I don't know why they can't do it, because if they go all in this year, and they went all in this year, and they traded Made for Tarik Skubal, okay, let's just say they did that. And then, again, they let the players that are free agents walk, that get bigger contracts. If they can't backfill, this is a one and done for Milwaukee instead of being the team that continually wins and gives himself a chance in the postseason. Now, you could be that team. I think a lot of Padres fans have told us the last couple of weeks that they want to be the Brewers and be there all the time. This is why A.J. Preller's great. He's not afraid to make that big move. You could say whatever you want about A.J. Preller. Has he made every move perfect? No. Has he made some mistakes? Absolutely. But you know what? I would rather have a guy like A.J. Preller roll the dice every couple of years when he thinks he's got a squad. Now, should he do that every year? Probably not. I don't want to see any type of move. I don't want to announce a move today in which I say that Ethan Salas is going anywhere. I don't want to make that. I don't want to say that one time. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want that to pop up at all. But I will say this. The years that the Padres had been what a player away, they have had an organization that has had the guts to go out there and make that move. The Brewers have not. And you saw that this weekend. Now, we have had a plethora of moves happen. I mean, since Ben and Woods signed off, it kind of happened as they were signing off. The White Sox have added Colorado outfielder Brenton Doyle, according to Ken Rosenthal, Jesse Rogers. Basically everybody has confirmed it at this point in time. So that has been a move. It sounds like the Red Sox and the Orioles have arranged a deal for Adley Rutschman. Prospects and medicals are all set. Red Sox just need to say yay or nay, according to Buster Only. So we got a lot to get to today. It's going to be a just plethora of trade news as it happens. It's going to be a move it around show. These are these live update shows. I view today's show almost like those NFL Sunday shows where they're just throwing an action and we're going here, we're going there. That's kind of how this is going to be. This is going to be a lot of reporting. This is going to be a lot of breakdown, a lot of analysis of moves when they happen, and we're going to be the place that you want to be if you're a baseball fan, as we discuss what's going on at the trade deadline. Later on today, as I mentioned before, Kyle Glaser will join us at 1 o'clock. He'll join us in studio for the whole 1 o'clock hour. And in that hour, we are going to be breaking down a lot of the trades. He has the knowledge about a lot of the minor league guys, but also a lot of the players that are getting moved. It's going to be great perspective, so it's going to be awesome to have Kyle here in studio for the final hour of the show, which leads you into Gwynn and Chris. Again, the trade deadline is 3 o'clock today, Pacific time. So you will have some trades leading up to 3 o'clock. You will have some trades trickle out after 3 o'clock, and what that means is those are moves that got approved before the deadline went through. It's just a matter of paperwork getting into the league office. So we're going to have a fun show today. We're looking forward to it. We got a lot to break down on the show. And, you know, we'll still talk about the Padres. I mean, they took 3 out of 4 over the weekend. Sure, some of them were a little shaky. I went to the game on Saturday. That was a frustrating game to see them blow a couple of leads against a very lousy Giants team. That Giants team is so bad, except for Basabe, who, by the way, is like the greatest player to ever live somehow this weekend. I mean, he was ridiculous. He was out. Padres might as well trade for him. So we got a lot to break down from the weekend. We got a lot to break down with the trade deadline. And the Padres haven't done anything yet. We haven't heard a lot of rumors about the Padres so far. We will be the place to be when you start hearing said rumors. We heard yesterday that the Padres were trying to figure out how to get Rafael Devers in some sort of capacity. It sounded like they were a little bit off on money. It sounded like they're interested, as of this morning, in a guy like Robbie Ray. And what the Padres need and what's out there are two different things right now. I mean, the Padres need a left-handed bat, preferably in the outfield, and they need a pitcher or two. I mean, starting pitching. And starting pitchers are flying off the board right now. So when we come back, we're going to take Frank's takeaway from the Tarik Skubal trade from over the weekend. We're going to keep you updated on what has happened over the last hour or so. We'll keep you updated if we hear anything about the Padres, but we're just getting started. It's going to be a fun day. MLB trade deadline day. Braden Surprenant show all the way to 2 o'clock in Gwynn and Chris on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. Anyone mind we played a little Ella Langley on a trade deadline day? Frank's going to be an Ella fella with all the Ella Langley added to the rejoiner music. Ella fella. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. This is the place you're going to be all day long. If you're interested in the MLB trade deadline, we're going to be covering a lot of the MLB trade deadline. We talked about Brenton Doyle is now a member of the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox added a center fielder. Other moves that had just been made throughout the day. We did get this one earlier. The Angels got Nacho Alvarez Jr. for Brent Suter. Braves are trying to add some arms. The other moves that we saw earlier this morning, we've seen the talks between the Red Sox and the Orioles about Adley Rutschman on a blockbuster deal. It sounds like Joe Adell is on his way to Cleveland right now. The Mariners picked up Taylor Ward from the Baltimore Orioles. As we see just everybody moving around right now on trade deadline day, we have yet to get too much information about the Padres. The San Diego Padres have had, some feelers out there, if you will. We saw some reports over the weekend. But again, here's how I view the trade deadline. I think at this point, Frank, and this is how I view it. You want to see this team buy. You don't want to see them sell too many pieces. I don't think they're going to sell any. And what you don't want to see is you don't want to see them sell off your entire farm system, right? Like, you don't want to see Ethan Salas go. I think if you traded one of Cash Mayfield or Cruz Schoolcraft, I think you could survive, but you don't want to really do too much there either. And the thing is if the Padres, and we've seen AJ Preller do this, like, I think you got to trust in him to go out there and get the best offer he possibly can. I don't think he's going to panic move and make a panic buy nor sell. He just got to stay disciplined when things get antsy and he starts seeing players fly off the board. But I think you've given him. He's proven that you can trust a lot of his moves. But if he ends up, what would you say the worst outcome of today would be? Like, not doing anything? I don't even necessarily think that would be that bad. If the Padres didn't do anything the entire day, I don't really think that's the worst case scenario, because you still keep everybody intact for another year in terms of the bullpen. The farm system. You get everybody. You got a team that is right there in the thick of things in the playoffs as is. You do need some starting pitching help, but you're expected to get Nick Pivetta and Joe Musgrove back. Both of them are pitching in a rehab assignment tomorrow in Lake Elsinore, which is an early game time tomorrow. We'll have you updated throughout the show tomorrow. But, if the worst case scenario is like not doing anything, I don't think you could be that upset. I mean, it might be a little disappointing you didn't go get a starting pitcher, but I honestly would rather have the Padres not do anything than panic buy and spend too much money on a player that is not going to really shift the needle for this team, Frank.
I do tend to agree with what Ben was saying right at the very end of the show, that if the Padres don't do anything, it's not because they thought the team was good enough. It's because
Correct.
Prices were too high.
Right.
I don't necessarily believe, again, that's a bad thing. You don't want to give up. When you're talking about trading guys like Ethan Salas, when you're talking about trading guys like Schoolcraft and Mayfield, those are all-in moves. It's not an all-in team right now. They are way too many pieces shy of all-in, and I think if they were in an all-in mode, they would have made a trade by now. They are trying to fill out bench pieces. They're trying to fill out minor roster spots right now. So I would be very, very surprised if any of those three names that I've mentioned are shipped out today.
After this weekend's results, what's interesting to me is we're starting to see some reports from insiders about the Texas Rangers. And John Morosi had a couple of these pieces. It sounded like Rosenthal might have said something about some other big name guys, and they might be trying to shed some payroll over there in Texas. I mean, Texas was right there at the top of the standings, and then Houston came in and swept their ass, and now the Astros have a 2-game lead in the American League West. Rangers are 2.5 game lead, actually. Rangers are 2.5 out. They're only a half game in front of Seattle. Seattle looks like they're trying to still win in 2026. The Rangers, though, are kind of putting their feelers out there to see if anybody really wants to pick up some of their pieces. They're willing to listen on Mackenzie Gore. They're willing to listen on Jacob Latz. They're putting their feelers out there when it comes to Nathan Eovaldi. The big barrier there, of course, is he's got a full no trade and he's under contract for $24 million next season. So, the Rangers, I think, are a team that you might want to start paying attention to and at the trade deadline, because these are the moves that happen throughout the day. This is where you start to see some opportunities that A.J. Preller could capitalize on that might not have been opportunities for the last 2 weeks. I think the Texas Rangers are one of those teams. I mean, the Washington Nationals are interested in potential. They're starting to sell pieces off, right? So I think as the day gets closer to 3 o'clock, you're going to see maybe teams pivot to sell. I think you're going to see prices come down for certain players, and I think you could really get more of your value closer to the 3 o'clock deadline because teams are going to want to part ways with players. They start showing their hand a little bit more, and you just don't want to be the first to blink. And I think if A.J. Preller is not the first to blink, they're going to be in a good spot here in the trade deadline. But again, we'll see where everybody's at, and we'll continue to update you. We didn't have any major trade happen during the commercial break. Man, Bennett Woods were on a little bit of a roll right there. They had like two trades a break in the morning, but we're going to keep you updated throughout the day. I do want to go back to the and I'm sure we're going to hear this a lot. I mean, I was watching the game last night as the Red Sox beat up the Dodgers. I mean, Emmett Sheehan, he almost gave up 4 home runs almost in a row. He gave up 3 home runs in 1 inning after the Dodgers took the lead. The Red Sox swept L.A. all weekend, but the whole thing was just glazing the Dodgers for the Skubal thing. And if you think this is bad for baseball, then you don't know anything about baseball. It's like, what are we doing, national broadcast? What are we doing? You're going to alienate, they're trying to gaslight us into thinking this was a big deal. Like, this wasn't a big deal. This wasn't a problem for Major League Baseball. I think the more this goes on, the more angry I am with the Milwaukee Brewers, who I have to continually have to be told how great the Milwaukee Brewers are and how they do everything right. Everything's great, yet they don't have the gall or the fortitude or the guts to make any type of big move at the trade deadline. And they couldn't match what LA did over the weekend. Like, look, I think from a grand scheme of things for baseball, like, everybody being on the same team that's good is kind of a joke, right? I don't want to like throw cold water on that, but I think you also need to be mad at the Brewers a little bit for not pulling the trigger on what could have been something that shifted the gears into Brewers territory for 2026. That was my biggest take for the weekend. What was your biggest takeaway from the Skubal move?
It is good for baseball. It is very, very good for baseball. When you have people asking, why should I even bother watching the rest of this season? Like many people were. That is the best thing that Major League Baseball can hear right now, is because that gives them even more ammunition for a salary cap. This puts the Players Association in a worse position to negotiate as far as what you're looking for the future with this new CBA. It is what is best for baseball right now. So when people say that, just know that that's not what they're saying. They're saying this is great for baseball because, look, it's another star on another big market team. That's the national line. That's the Players Association line, is that this is great for baseball because it puts another megastar in a big market with a mega team. It is good for baseball, but for not those reasons. This is the best thing that could have happened this trade deadline. If you are somebody who wants the trade, if you're somebody who wants a salary cap, this is exactly what you wanted to happen, and it did.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, that's going to push the scales, I think, into the favor of the owners.
It didn't push. It went under the scale and flipped it, is what it did.
I always find it funny. Like, national media always wants like two dominant teams. I think it's like the greatest thing ever. I never think it's that great. And how about this? Like, too, I always see like this from Dodger fans. Like, oh, when the Yankees did this in the '90s, nobody said it. They called them the evil empire for a reason.
Hold on.
It was the same thing.
Hold on. Where is it?
It's the same thing.
Where the heck?
Oh, okay. Did they have that song?
Yeah, the Gwen and Chris stuff. They did have the. They did have the Imperial March, but now he moved everything.
You just killed the vibe, dude.
Well, here it is. Or not, because it doesn't work. That's good.
Because it probably got deleted or something like that.
Great.
Nice. You get a foul for just derailing the show.
Like I knew that was going to be.
Hey.
That was going to
That was
happen.
the risk you took. You know, you went for the ball. They had the pass out to the wing. You tried to jump it. You fouled the guy. You know, like I knew that was going to happen. You know what? I like the aggressiveness, though. I like the aggressiveness, Frank. I really do. That's a second foul. That's for arguing about the first foul. That's like what that is.
He draws the foul.
I was about to foul out. It's not even the first hour yet. Anyway, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Give us a call. Let us know what you think the Padres should do at the deadline. What do you think about the moves over the weekend? When we come back, we are going to dive into some of the moves that happened over the weekend. That are worth talking about. I mean, there's a lot of moves on the margins, I would say. I mean, Minnesota out there trying to buy right now. Out there trying to buy and regroup for 2026 after they sold off a lot in 2025. Angels not holding anything back. They're trading everybody away, it seems like, except for Mike Trout. I mean, they're sending a lot of people away. Angels, we already saw that move that they made with the Texas Rangers before this. Earlier this morning, they were making moves. I mean, they traded Soriano to the Toronto Blue Jays. What are the Blue Jays doing? I mean, they trade away Gausman, and then they pick him up. I get that he's under control for a couple of years. Maybe they're like doing their free agent shopping, now instead of like over the off season. But like that was out of all the moves, like that was probably the biggest head scratcher move for me. Was the Blue Jays giving up a lot for Jose Soria? But he was good. I think it would be a good ad for like a playoff team, but. Does Toronto think they're in it this year, or are they doing this because they want to get ready for next year? I mean, he's got years of control. Maybe that's the reason why they wanted to do that.
I think I figured out the Angels' plan, though, as Bill Shaken reported 3 hours ago. The Angels have made 2 trades at that time for 4 prospects. 2 of those prospects were named Angel.
Calling all the angels.
Quite literally at this point.
Yeah, seriously. Mike Trout's got to call his agent. Like, get me out of here. Here's one for Joel Sherman about the Rangers. They're telling teams none of their players are off limits. One player drawing interest is Eovaldi. He's making $25 million this year, $20 next. He has a full no trade clause. So would he waive it with a presented trade? That's interesting to me. I think the Rangers being open for business kind of opens the doors a little bit here as well. I think that's also interesting. I was surprised by the Braves going to get Tyler Mahle. I mean, I watched him pitch over the weekend. He was okay. I thought that was a very marginal move for Atlanta. The Yankees getting Luis Garcia Jr. I think is a big pickup for them. Luis Garcia Jr. is already putting up some pretty big numbers offensively this year, and he's a left-handed hitter, and he gets the short porch in New York now. He's already hit like 20-something home runs. I think that's going to be a big move. The Rays getting Freddy Peralta, don't mind that. I know the Padres were kind of linked there. How about the Mets, though? Like, the Mets were a team that's like, oh, you better give us something big for Freddy Peralta. They end up shipping him off for, a couple of pieces. If the Padres' big move was to get Freddy Peralta at the deadline, I don't necessarily think I would have been super stoked about it.
No, there's reports that the Padres are linked to Robbie Ray right now, and you're talking about.
I thought he looked a lot better than Molly did.
You were talking about the Texas Rangers. They have a lot of people that are rumored. Corey Seager's rumored. Jacob deGrom is rumored to be going to Chicago, the Cubs. That's a trade that's apparently still in the works. Nathan Eovaldi is most likely going to be on the move. They said they're listening on Wyatt Langford. They're listening on Mackenzie Gore, who they got this offseason. So the Texas Rangers are going to be a team that a lot of people are going to be looking at as this trade deadline goes through.
I think with them opening the door, I think it opens a good opportunity for the Padres right now to make a move with the Rangers, and we'll see what happens here in the next couple of hours or so. When we come back, we'll recap a lot of the big trades that have happened this morning. We'll get your phone calls as well. Davis, Vince, David, Rick, Mark, we're going to get to you when we come back. Padres trade deadline coverage right here on 97.3 The Fan. We are the Braden Surprenant Show. We'll take you up to Gwen and Chris today. Our trade deadline coverage is presented by City Cruises Live. Experience is done different. This is the place you're going to want to be for all trade deadline conversations. We'll hear from you fans out there, as well as recap some of the moves that have happened already this morning when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Fran Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. We're broadcasting live for the Bill Allen Studios. We know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show. Static Urban Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. We got a fun show planned today. Obviously, keeping you updated on what's going on the trade deadline. This is going to be our trade deadline show today as we inch closer to 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock is the trade deadline. So we will end at 2. The final hour of the trade deadline will be the first hour of Gwynn and Chris, which will be must listen to radio as deals just get in and out. And we had a nice little rush in the morning. I think things have kind of calmed down a little bit right now, and we're going to see another rush here probably in the next hour or so as teams are making a lot of moves. Sounds like, according to Ken Rosenthal and Evan Grant, that the Rangers are trading infielder Josh Smith to the Blue Jay that is now fallen off the board, and it sounds like the Rangers are open for business. Joel Sherman reported that the Rangers have not said anybody is off limits. It sounds like they're willing to trade anybody. They're hearing offers on Wyatt Langford. They're hearing offers for guys like Mackenzie Gore. It sounds like Nathan Eovaldi has been a very popular name in trade negotiations. He's got a little bit of a problem just because you got to convince him on a trade. On a no-trade clause. He's got to waive his no-trade clause. And then, of course, he's also owed $24 million next year. But I think the Texas Rangers now open up as a interesting partner for a lot of teams. I think the Padres can match up with Texas, too. They have, Padres are looking for left-handed bats, and they're looking for starting pitching. The Rangers have both right now. I don't know if the Padres have enough to acquire everything from Texas, but that's another trade partner that might be in the works for the San Diego Padres. We will keep you updated if we get any reports on that, but it sounds like the Rangers are in fact open for business right now as they're taking calls from teams about any player on their roster, and according to a source are open to discussing anyone in the right deal. A would-be buyer appears to be heading towards a potential day of selling. Mark Feinsand, and these are the moves that happen on trade deadline day. They're coming off getting swept by the Houston Astros. And Frank, do we think, before we get to the phone calls, do we think the Rangers are making the right decision of turning into sellers here after a tough weekend against Houston?
Yeah, it's better to retool than to try to go after something. I understand we talked last week about proximity over record. They're still relatively close to a playoff run, but if you're a team that you know is immediately going to go 0-2 and then just out, I wouldn't test it. I would just say, you know what? We had a shot this year. Things didn't work out. Let's try to restructure this roster based off of what we're assuming is going to happen in the future, which is a salary cap. let's try to put ourselves in the best position to be able to make a splash when that is impacted instead of going after something we know we can't win.
Do you want to get your phone calls today? We're going to get them throughout the day. What do you think the Padres should do? What is your opinion on some of the moves that have happened? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Start off with Davis in San Diego. Davis, what's going on, man?
What's up, Braden? My favorite day of the year because the Padres, thankfully, in my life have made it an exciting day. It's almost like my birthday. But I just love A.J. Preller and his aggressiveness. He's literally like one of my favorite people on this planet, which sounds kind of crazy, but he just swings the best deals. Even like that Juan Soto deal doesn't look very nice, but it's just exciting. I believe that he'll be able to do something with the few resources we have. He always makes the prospects that we do have seem more valuable to other teams. So you never know. The Robbie Ray and Devers rumors, I would love Devers. I know he's not a popular guy just because like things he does, but that'd be awesome. That'd be such a Preller thing to do, is go out and get Devers. I don't think we have enough resources to trade for him, and if we did, especially with the contract stuff, we wouldn't have enough flexibility to swing more deals after that for pitchers, which I think that's the main need right now. Robbie Ray would be awesome, but I think the main thing is making sure if we do make a trade, we wouldn't be giving up too much where we couldn't do anything after that.
Yeah, Davis, I think the Devers thing is interesting. I really do. I think it's as long as, and here's the let's talk about Devers for a second, Frank, because this happened over the weekend. There were some rumors there. I mean, I know the Padres, AJ Preller likes hunting players that he's always coveted, right? Like these are guys that he's always wanted, and when they become available, he goes after them. Devers is one of those players. The only thing that makes sense to me is getting him for way less than what he is currently getting paid, right? He counts for $29.6 million towards the cap, and he's under contract through 2033, which I think is the same year, if I'm not mistaken, as Machado and Bogarts. I don't think, like, with right now, like Devers is having a solid year, but it's not something that's like anything really to write too much home about. I think it would be a solid addition. You would be taking the risk of having like not only Manny and Xander in their last 3 years of a bad contract, but then you would have to add another one if that was the case. But let me say this. Does it make sense for a guy like Devers if you got $10 million off?
I'd want more than that.
But if you go $10 million off, he counts for 29.6 in the AAV. If you paid him 19 against the cap, is that more reasonable?
It's more reasonable. I would still want a little bit more off, though.
I honestly, if you get that number to 18, I think you could say yes to that, as long as you're not giving up like Ethan Salas, right? Like if you're doing a, because I think that the Giants eating 11 million of it is something that they would probably do. And that's a lot to ask. I mean, you're asking them to eat 11 million. I mean, I know they're trying to get rid of the contract, and they're not really in a position of power per se, but $11 million a year is, I mean, that does hamper a little bit. Maybe if you can get them up to 15, that would be great. I mean, if you're paying them like around $15 million, like 13, 14, $15 million a year, I think that's even better for the Padres. But if it's like 18 million is at the end, I don't think that's crazy, especially if it's, if it results in you maybe getting a Robbie Ray, or maybe with you taking off one of their contracts, it helps prevent giving up an Ethan Salas. I think you got to find that sweet spot that makes sense with the Rafael Devers for it to make sense. Do I want Rafael Devers until 2033 with $29 million a year towards my AAV? No, I do not. It makes a little bit more sense at 18. Still not my favorite, but I think you got to find some number that you're okay with that's not extreme. Otherwise, you might not be able to make some of these moves. And here's the thing with the Padres. They're in a situation right now where they have to get creative in terms of acquiring players because they don't have the, quote, farm system that everybody else has, right? Now, every organization evaluates your farm system differently. You evaluate everybody else's farm system differently. Just because MLB Pipeline says XYZ doesn't mean that's what everybody else views that as. I think adding another big contract would be incredibly risky, so I think that's a little different. But if you're trying to get a left-handed bat and a starting pitcher, and you don't want to give up Ethan Salas, if you get the Giants to eat some money, I think it's something that might be worth the conversation. 18 might be my limit. Like if I could get Devers and Robbie Ray, and I have to pay Devers $18 million a year, and I get to keep Ethan Salas, I think that's a move that you might be willing to make if you're the San Diego Padres. But again, you do have to pay. How about this? How about if you do that and the Giants cover all of Robbie Ray's remaining salary, that might be something the Giants might be interested in. That might be something the Padres might be able to swing.
I could see it happening. And this is a conversation that came up about a month ago when Tony Gwynn Jr. posed the question, just as a thought. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about adding another big money contract.
But this goes all the way back to, again, the Dodgers acquiring Skubal, saying anybody can do this. No, they can't, because the Padres right now are in a little bit of a jam, trying to keep pace every single year, doing exactly what LA does. And these are the decisions they have to make. I don't think anybody really thinks adding another big contract's a good idea.
No.
In a vacuum. But considering the Padres don't have a lot of value left in their farm system, considering that the Padres don't want to give up Ethan Salas per se, and I don't think they should with how much they've invested in him, you have to find ways to improve your team, and you might have to do something risky. I think this is one of those moves that, hey, maybe with new ownership they could take on payroll, and this is how we get what we need, more so than maybe just, trading Cruz Schoolcraft to a division rival.
Well, I mean, and as the Dodgers proved, I mean, all we need to do is give up Carson Montgomery, who's the Padres' number 30 prospect, and then just move on. That's it. That's all they need.
Yeah, we should do the Dodgers approach on this.
Yeah,
just give them a bunch of crap and then just be like, hey, these guys are great because they are Dodgers.
Exactly. Yep.
So I think it's... Is that a move I'm saying yes to right now? No, but I think it is doable, and I think let's talk about it from a perspective of just this year. Does Rafael Devers and Robbie Ray help this team this year? Yes.
No. Yeah.
They do. I think they do.
Robbie
Devers,
Ray definitely
for sure.
will.
I think Devers is definitely an improvement for the lineup. You know what it's not, though? Or are you going to play everybody? Unless Devers is just your everyday DH. And then maybe you move him around to first base and all over the place.
Which is something the Padres don't really have as an everyday.
They don't have a DH, and it sounded like, the report from Kevin Acee was Gavin Sheets is dealing with plantar fasciitis. So you do need more slug. He's a guy that ropes the ball. I mean, he's still a good player. Is he living up to the $30 million a year? No. But in any world in which Devers is a Padre, it's not going to be at a full price. There's no way the Padres sign off on that. There's just no way. If they get him for a discount and they get Robbie Ray back, I think there's something there. I think there's a move that could be made there, to be honest with you.
106 hits, 23 homers, 62 RBIs, hitting .250 right now is Devers.
That's better than a lot of the guys that you have currently on your team that you're paying his money towards, right?
It is, yeah.
I mean, you can't sit here and tell me that adding Rafael Devers to this roster from a player, like on-field player perspective, it wouldn't help the team. If you want to talk about clubhouse, if you want to talk about like he's late, you want to talk about he's not a great team player, fine. I will entertain those questions or those concerns. I think those concerns are very important. I also understand the concerns about adding massive contracts. But I just think with where the Padres are at, and I think we've said this the last couple of trade deadlines, this Padres team, like These are the moves they have to make in order to make their team better. They don't have the luxury right now of just being like, hey, let's just trade these 3 prospects and let's go get Nathan Eovaldi or let's go get, a Tarik Skubal or whatever. I just there's a lot that needs to go through some of these deals, and this is the part of AJ Preller getting creative. It's this. So I think. I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, what is AJ Preller asleep? What's going on? They got a couple hours left. Obviously, it goes to 3 o'clock. I think they're going to be able to make something happen. They need starting pitching in a bad way. I think the Texas Rangers being open for business, I think helps the Padres a little bit. And I think a lot of teams that might be asking for gigantic packages in return are going to pivot very quickly. We heard from the Marlins, a report from the Marlins, that they are listing on offers for Stowers, but it's going to be a steep price because they don't necessarily have to trade him. I think players like Stowers are going to continue to have high price points, and I think players that are about to be on expiring contracts are going to have their price come down very quickly as we get to the trade deadline. So we still got a lot to unpack. We're 1 hour in the books. We got 3 more to go. When we come back, John, Vince, Brandon, Rick, Scott, Brandon in Carlsbad. We got full phone lines. We're opening up the phones when we come back to start the next hour. Braden Surprenant Show, trade deadline coverage, 97.3 The Fan. All right, as we went to break, the San Diego Padres have gotten maybe a new pitcher. It is being reported. Breaking news. Got him. It's okay. We don't need it. We don't need it. It is being reported. Again, nothing is finalized until the Padres make the announcement, but it is being reported the Padres have added a starting pitcher. According to Jeff Passan, breaking news, the San Diego Padres are finalizing a trade to acquire left-handed Robbie Ray from the San Francisco Giants, sources tell ESPN.
And Dennis Lin just confirmed it a couple seconds ago as well.
I see that. The Padres, that was where I was going to go next. Padres are closing in on a trade for Giants lefty Robbie Ray, sources said. Jeff Passan was on it. That's from Dennis Lin.
This is...
John Heyman said Padres are trying to land Robbie Ray and deal with the Giants. So it is being reported that the Padres are closing in on a trade for Robbie Ray.
This is from Mock Bomb.
Excuse me?
It's MLB Insider, winner last 3 years of MLB Reporter of the Year. Reports are, so take it with a grain of salt here, reports are the Padres and Orioles have been going back and forth with what could potentially be a deal that could send Jackson Holiday here.
Interesting.
So that's a report that is out there.
I did see some rumors about that. We'll keep you updated on anything of that transpiring. But Padres have gotten a new pitcher in Robbie Ray. I think this is something that was happening over the weekend. We saw updates about this over the weekend, and I'm not overly surprised about the Padres being able to acquire Robbie Ray. I thought he looked really good against them. Unfortunately, he looked really good against the Padres in his outing against San Diego. Was that on Thursday, right? Was that Thursday?
Yeah, that was Thursday.
So he shoved. You saw the highlight of his kid giving him a pep talk in the dugout. I thought that was kind of cool. So I like that Robbie Ray reportedly is about to be a Padre. Again, nothing is finalized until the San Diego Padres announce said moves. But Jeff Passan had it first. Dennis Lin then also confirmed it. But it sounds like the Padres found a starting pitcher in Robbie Ray. Now, Robbie Ray is owed probably around $7 million left this season. He was getting paid $25 million this year. So the Padres, who knows what the return is? We haven't seen any reports on that yet. But the Padres go out and get a starting pitcher that they desperately need. And now when you start piecing together this rotation, Frank, it looks, just by adding Robbie Ray, it looks a whole hell of a lot better than it did, 10 minutes ago. And that's if, can Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta have a good outing tomorrow in terms of health in their rehab assignment in Lake Elsinore? And if both of them come back and you add Robbie Ray, you got yourself actually a starting rotation that has Ray, it's got King, it's got Musgrove, it's got Pivetta, and it's got Walker Buehler. You can go back to having 5 starters and then mix in the other players. It starts to work out. And I think it's a pretty good trade for the Padres. When I saw that they were talking about it over the weekend, I thought this could be a good move.
What was the one thing that we had a big discussion about yesterday as to what the Padres should be looking for out of a starting pitcher? You wanted a guy who could genuinely be your number 2 starter. And this is exactly what they got with Robbie Ray. So you have Michael King, who's your staff ace, who's been here. You have Nick Pivetta, who's coming off of an arm injury. You have Joe Musgrove, who's coming off of Tommy John surgery. You have Walker Buehler, who was brought in to be your number 5. You never really had a number 2. And now with this trade, if it goes through, with this trade, you now have your genuine number 2. You also don't have a starter for tomorrow night or for Wednesday, so he could fit right in. I believe tomorrow night would be his 5-day rest.
Where did the Giants go? Who are the Giants playing this week?
The Giants...
Because they were just here. The unfortunate thing is you couldn't make the deal before he left. He could have just stayed here. They're in Texas.
Yeah.
Texas to Arizona's not far. So that's going to be a quick Southwest flight.
On Espen tonight, too.
Wow. That'll be interesting. 2 teams that have decided to sell big time. because it sounds like
national
Texas is trying. Yeah, who knows who's left in Texas by the time that game starts tonight in Arlington. So, Robbie Ray, I mean, based on like a 5-man rotation, wouldn't his spot be up tomorrow? Right, because Logan Webb was the announced starter today for the Giants. Anyway.
Yeah, he would be. Yeah, he would be tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, he would be scheduled to go either tomorrow or Wednesday, and you have TBD pitching for both of those games right now.
So now, what's interesting about this is a huge series for the Padres, right, against Arizona. You got Michael King going tonight, and now you got Robbie Ray potentially going tomorrow. We will wait for confirmation from the Padres on this deal. We will wait for confirmation from the Padres, I'm sure, probably this afternoon on when Robbie Ray, if he is officially acquired, when he would pitch for the San Diego Padres. But if they want to keep him on the usual day's rest and not give him an extra day off, it's going to be probably tomorrow or maybe, I mean, even if it's Wednesday, like, you are getting Robbie Ray against the Diamondbacks this week with Michael King. That's a big pickup for a team that absolutely needs to, at the very least, split this series with Arizona, but you really need to win this series against Arizona. So if you split with Arizona this week, you still leave Arizona a game behind the Diamondbacks in the standings, regardless of what the Phillies do. If you take 3 out of 4, you are going to be up. And you're going to probably be in a wild card spot if you take 3 out of 4 from Arizona this week. And so right now you got Michael King, and you might have Robbie Ray this week. So we're still waiting to hear what the return could potentially be for Robbie Ray. We're still waiting to hear from it. But I like this move a lot for the Padres, just in the standpoint of you got Robbie Ray. We'll see what happens with who gets sent off to San Francisco. Again, it's for a rental, and you got to pay the remaining salary, potentially. But you know what? With these deals, the deals with the rentals, A.J. Preller's done a great job of getting the team that is trading away the player to pay the rest of his contract through the end of the season until to about like the league minimum. So I would not be surprised if they were able to negotiate that as part of the conversation. So we'll see what the trade is. I don't think it's going to be one of your top 3 prospects. I think that would be kind of ridiculous for a rental in Robbie Ray, especially for what like Tarik Skubal went for. But we'll keep you updated on when that happens. But overall, Frank, I like this move a lot. I think the Padres added to where they needed. I think Robbie Ray is a lot better than adding obviously a Rich Hill type, right? So, and he immediately is going to help impact this team for this year. I don't think you can think about maybe extending him if this trade goes through, just because the Padres haven't really done it with rentals too much. So I like the move, Frank. I really do.
Yeah, I don't mind the move. It gives you that number 2 starter that you needed. It gives you another guy that you don't have to rely on Michael King. It gives you another guy that you can use as a stopper. And Robbie Ray has done well this season. I don't have his numbers up, which is a mistake on my part, but he has had a solid year. 10-6 with a 3.08 ERA in 21 starts. That's about perfect for what this starting rotation needs right now.
It's a massive upgrade to what your starting rotation currently is. And I thought he's not a high velocity guy, right? I mean, he was giving the Padres fits on Friday night or Thursday night, whatever it was. Was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday.
Yeah.
He was giving him fits the whole time. And this is not the worst offense in baseball anymore. This is the way that they've played the last month, and they showed it again over the weekend. They put up big numbers, for the last month and a half. He mowed the Padres down. I mean, they were having some serious problems with Robbie Ray on Thursday. It's a big reason why the Giants won on Thursday night.
And another thing to look at here, this is just his last 2 months of starts. 5 innings, 97 pitches. 5 2/3, 93. 6 1/3, 94, 8 102, 8 95, 6 innings, 88. 5 innings, 100, not great. 4 innings, only 86. 6 innings, 80. 6 innings, 86. And those last 3 kind of coincide with when the trade rumors around him were really swirling. So they pitched him less to make sure he wasn't getting hurt. But this is a guy who consistently throws 90 pitches, 90 to 100 pitches, and can get you deep into ball games, which is something the Padres starting rotation desperately needs right now. It's a guy who can save that bullpen a little bit of time.
If you look at like what he's done in the last, like Frank was saying, in the last month or so, I mean, the month of July has been fantastic for Robbie Ray. He got roughed up a little bit in Colorado, but high altitude, giving up 3 runs, still a solid outing, good enough to get you a win. But he's been great. I mean, I think they talked about it on the broadcast. What do you have, like a 1.04 or something like that in his last handful of starts? In his last 8 games that he has pitched. In the last 8 games that Robbie Ray has pitched, Robbie Ray is the team is 6-2. He is 6-0 in these last 8 games that he pitched.
Yes,
he has a 1.09 ERA.
He's 7-0 since the beginning of He's 7-0 since the beginning of June. He had a 2 ERA in the month of July and a 1.36 in the month of June.
And as AJ Cassaville just tweets out, the Padres are finalizing a deal to land the only pitcher who's beaten them in the last 10 days. That's true. He's the only pitcher to beat him in the last 10 days. I mean, the Padres aren't. I mean, they've won what 8 of 9 or something like that at this point. I mean, I can't think off the top of my head what that number is, but his ERA before that run was like a 4.42. He's dropped it down to a 3.08. That tells you just how dominant Robbie Ray has been pitching. I like this move. I think you're getting him at the right time. He has gone deep into games, as Frank has mentioned. If you go back to his start against Atlanta where the Giants won 7-2, 6 1/3 innings. Next start, 8 innings, 6 innings, 5 innings, 4 innings against Seattle, 6 innings, 6 innings. But we're talking about a guy that since June happened has consistently gotten you way further in games than anybody the Padres have in their rotation.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest signing, that the biggest trade that the Padres could have made today, and it comes exactly where it needs to be. It is a trade with the Giants, like we were talking about last segment, but it is a trade for Robbie Ray. Perfect move right now. Depend right now, because we still don't know who they gave up yet.
Yeah, haven't had any reports on who the Padres have given up for the reported move that allegedly is bringing Robbie Ray here. Again, nothing is finalized until the Padres announce it. There's still a lot of things that have to happen. There's medicals, there's return, there's a lot of stuff that's moving parts when it comes to this trade, but it's a big trade for the Padres. I like the move. You get him for the 2 months. Hopefully you get him in October because the Padres are playing in October. But these are the moves that, Frank, that I would expect the Padres to be in the market for this trade deadline. They're not going to get the guy with 4 years ago. They're not going to get the Mason Miller 5 years of control move at this deadline. They're not going to get something super big like that. I thought that they could potentially trade from their bullpen to help with getting some starting pitching help. We'll see if that is part of this deal. But I think right now, if this is the only move the Padres make, they improve to help win this season. I think it's a decent move. I'm not opposed to it. We'll see how much they gave up for it, but I like it. I like the move. And again, once we find out what the Padres had given up on for Robbie Ray, we will get that for you. I do want to get back to the phones. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Thanks for waiting on hold. Let's get out to Vince in Chula Vista. Vince, what's going on, man?
Hey guys, doing a great job as always. And today's going to be a fun day, regardless of how it shakes out. You can't judge the Robbie Ray thing until we know. The calculus isn't there yet. So we have to see what was given up to get him. And if the bar is what the Dodgers did to get Skubal, you wouldn't think it would be, drastic what was given up to to acquire him. But what I really wanted to talk about, because it's stunning to me, is what the Dodgers are doing. And there may be one of two, maybe three teams of all 30 MLB teams. There's only two or three that could sit down and have a theoretical discussion as to whether or not that they can do what the Dodgers are doing. It's propped up by the TV contracts that they have. So they have this bolus of money that's flowing in. They have $1.1 billion in deferred salary. Get your brain wrapped around I have no clue what that means. Every 2 years or 2 years after they do the deferred contract, they have to put a certain amount of money into an escrow account. It's an investment account. That money is going to do nothing but earn value until they have to pay it out to Shohei and anybody else who has these deferred contracts with the Dodgers.
Right.
So it's not Dave Roberts and it's not the GM that's running the Dodgers. It's the chief legal officer, the CFO of the Dodgers, and whoever their quantitative is. Because
right.
It is
Vince,
about
Vince, I
money.
appreciate the phone call. We've talked about that a lot, but we're like pushing to the break here. But again, like, you know, a lot of that stuff I think is going to get sorted out during the off season, and you know, I think tomorrow's probably a better day, maybe the day after, to talk about, like, we've discussed all the nuances of what they got and what they can be able to do. I think at this point, though, like over the weekend, if you're mad about the Skubal thing, we've already talked about the nonsense that is the special rules that they get up there. I think the biggest takeaway from the weekend deal was the Brewers didn't have the stones to make a daring move. They didn't have the stones to make a daring move. That's my takeaway from the weekend was the Brewers dropped the ball. They had an opportunity to go out there and make themselves a World Series contender, and they couldn't do it because they maybe they can't because of the way that they structure their team about being a prospect-oriented team. They couldn't do it. That to me is like the biggest takeaway from the weekend with the Skubal deal. But we got Robbie Ray news for you. The Padres it's been reported that the Padres have acquired Robbie Ray. Still waiting on what the return could potentially be. When we come back, we will let you know about any of those returns. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show. This is the place to be on MLB trade deadline day. We will let you know if there's anything else that happens with the Padres when we return on the Braden Surprenant Show, standing on Sports Station 97 through the Fan. 11:23, broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking. It's better. We'll have our guest later on in the 1 o'clock hour. Okay, so according to John Heyman, it sounds like, oh, here we go. We got Dennis Lin also confirming. Dennis Lin tweeting that the Padres are trading prospects Miguel Mendez and Yoniel Hernandez in the Robbie Ray deal. Yaniel Hernandez, the number 9 prospect. Let's talk about Miguel Mendez for a second. He is the 4th best prospect for the Padres before everybody starts freaking out.
He's been in San Antonio for most of the year.
He's a 24-year-old Double-A prospect. He's currently in High A, right?
No, he's in Double-A right now. The Padre prospect list is showing him in High A, but the stats are showing Fort Wayne.
Is he on a rehab assignment or something? What's he? And then you said you had his stats for this year in San Antonio.
Right now for San Antonio, he's 2-2 with a 4.93 ERA and 11 starts, 34 and 2/3 innings, 17 walks, 38 strikeouts. Opponents are hitting .254 against him.
Right. Okay. I mean,
I would say that's not that big of a loss.
I know he's your number 4 prospect, but to me, here's where I'm at on the prospect stuff. Unless it's Ethan Salas, Cash Mayfield, Cruz Schoolcraft, and maybe Tucker Musgrove. Anybody else that gets traded, I'm not going to be that upset. I'm not. I'm just not going to be that upset. I really am not. I mean, it doesn't really sound like Miguel Mendez is going to be a top. I mean, you could go to Fangraphs and just go to Fangraphs and go to the, what this player is, whatever, the top prospects or whatever like that. And you go to the board and we talked about the grading that they have on these prospect lists of what they project to be. And I mean, we can go look. I mean, the Padres farm system is not great, right? Isn't that the whole argument that everybody has had? Is the Padres farm system is not good?
Yeah, everyone's saying the Padre farm system isn't good. Yaniel Hernandez. We've had guys from every level. We've had all 4 levels broadcasters on here today.
Oh man,
have we heard one word about Yaniel Hernandez?
Not really.
Kid's in rookie ball. He's 17 years old. He's not going to be around until about the time Manny and Xander are gone. How do we know, chat? How do we know that Yaniel Hernandez is going to hurt this team?
Let's put it in a perspective like this, okay? So according to Fangraphs, they have Miguel Mendez, the number 4 prospect in the Padres organization. Padres only have one top 100 prospect. It is Ethan Salas. He is ranked 12th out of the top 100. Miguel Mendez, again, they still list him at high A too, so I don't know what the deal is on that. They give him an estimated time of arrival of 2027. It says medium risk. He's 24 years old, and they give him the future value grade of a 45. Okay? Do you remember the future value grades?
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay, so like
That's
when
Fangraphs
when Fangraphs gives out their future value grade, it grades them based on like what they expect the WAR to be. 80's like the best. That's like unbelievable talent. 75, 70 perennial MVPs, right? You're looking for 65 and 60 on that list. 65's an all-star. A 60 grade for a pitcher is like a number 2 starter. A 55 is a number 3 starter. A 50 is a number 4 starter. A 45, which is what Miguel Mendez projects at according to Fangraphs, is a expected annual WAR of about a 1 to a 1.9. Low-end regular player, a platoon player, or a number 5 starter rotation. You're giving up a future number 5 starter for 2 months of Robbie Ray. That's the best guy you gave up. Now, Hernandez was the other player they gave up, correct?
Yes.
He is listed on Fangraphs as the 26th best prospect in the Padres organization. MLB Pipeline's got him at 9. Fangraphs has him at 26th. They expect him to arrive in the big leagues in 2032. This is the other player that was traded to San Francisco, according to reports, for Robbie Ray. He is listed as a high-risk player because he's 17, and right now he's grading out as a 35-plus future value. A 35-plus future value is an extra up-and-down depth player. They don't expect him to be anything more than that. Now, that's not to say the 17-year-old kid can't turn into something else, but right now you have Yaniel Hernandez, who is 17, who's not expected to be up in the big leagues until 2032, and you have Miguel Mendez, who is 24, who's in Double-A, maybe High-A at this point, based on where everybody's got him graded. And Mendez is expected to be a number 5 starter, according to Fangraphs, and Hernandez is expected to be a depth position player in the organization. I like this deal. I really do. And that's not to say that these guys aren't going to amount to anything. They possibly could. But when you are looking at how these players are getting evaluated, what they could potentially be, I look at that and go, I am willing to trade a future number 5 starter, and I'm willing to trade a depth piece in order to get 2 months of Robbie Ray. I like this move because of that.
Miguel Mendez is being shown on both the Missions and the Tin Caps rosters.
Is he on a rehab assignment or something?
Oh, yes, he is, actually.
That's why. So he's a Double-A player, but he's at least on Tin Cap. He's probably on a rehab assignment because he probably got hurt or something like that. So, sounds like that's the case. Now, here's the other thing, too, I think is interesting about this deal. What did I say about these rental deals that A.J. Preller makes?
They don't pay a lot.
Right. The Giants will take half the money owed to Robbie Ray, including half of the $1 million assignment bonus in the trade to San Diego, source tells Extra Bags. According to Dennis Lynn, Andrew Baggerly.
So what is that assuming? Like an $8 million, $8 million,
I think he was owed like
left?
6 to 8 million range.
So
left.
they're taking $3 to $4 million plus $1 million. So the Padres are only responsible for what, $3 million?
Right.
$4 million most.
I think $3 million. I think $3 to $4 million for a 2 months, maybe more of Robbie Ray. I think is fair, especially since you gave up a player that This is where again with the prospect rankings, it's such a crapshoot. Fangraphs has the 17-year-old kid in the Dominican Summer League listed as the 26th best prospect in the Padres org. MLB Pipeline has him as the 9th best prospect. And it's just a guess. And so who knows what the Giants evaluated those players at, right? I according to this report, the trade that the Padres made for Robbie Ray, I like You didn't have to give up Cash Mayfield. You didn't have to give up Cruz Schoolcraft. I think you're okay at this point. So the fact that the Padres are getting half of it paid off as well, I think is also great. But I like this move. I think this is a move that is awesome. And again, like, even if Yaniel Hernandez ends up being really good, he won't be really good until 2032. And by that point, guess who's not even on your... At that point, you got 1 year left. That's his estimated time of arrival. So when he comes to the big leagues, guess who you're not going to have on your team anymore 1 year later? No more Manny, no more Xander. Like, at that point, you're going to have like just a free lineup anyway. You'll be able to spend as much money as you want at that point. So I'm not against it. I can't. And here's the thing that I get. When you watch these players play in a vacuum, they look really good. They do. Especially like the young players. They're going to look really good. And then it's just how can they navigate and develop. I mean, you traded a 17-year-old for 2 months of rivalry. Maybe he becomes the greatest player in Giants history. Who knows? But at that point, you're going to have a lot of different moves that are going to happen for this Padres team before that guy gets to the big leagues. I'm okay with it. You needed to improve. I think you improved. Fangraphs doesn't think he's going to be very good. Take that for what it's worth. Doesn't sound like Fangraphs really believes in Miguel Mendez either, who's 24 years old already. I think you're going to be okay. And so, based on what has happened already, I think you've achieved two of the things that you needed. One, you got starting pitching help. Number two, you didn't give up one of your top three prospects that you really need to rely on in the future of Cash Mayfield, Cruz Schoolcraft, and Ethan Salas. They're still on the team. Still got some hours to go. We're going to keep you updated. Dodgers made another move. I don't get this move from LA just based because, like, I don't even know if the guy's healthy that they traded for. We're going to do some research on that when we go to break. We'll let you know what else happened. Rays made a move during this as well. We'll let you know what that trade is. We'll keep you updated on anything new that we hear as we continue on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, we got a lot of reports here for you with the Padres on rumors around the trade deadline. So the report is the Padres are acquiring, again, it is being reported, it is not official yet. It is being reported the Padres have acquired Robbie Ray for Miguel Mendez and what was the other name? Julio Hernandez? Is that who it was? Yes. Joniel Hernandez. Joniel Hernandez, according to Fangraphs, is the 26th best prospect in the Padres organization. According to MLB Pipeline, he is the 9th best. He is 17. He is playing in the Dominican Summer League right now. He is expected to come to the Padres in 2032. I have already seen too many people just absolutely beside themselves about a 17-year-old kid who you don't even know who he's going to be. I think you need to take a step back a little bit and try to understand what you're trying to accomplish in terms of these trades. You are trying to win. You are trying to win. And I saw this over the weekend. I totally agree with this. It's put in the YouTube chat. Darren Smith tweeted this out over the weekend. One of the greatest tricks Major League Baseball pulled on fans is convincing them prospects were more valuable than a World Series run or trying to win now. Stop falling in love with these players that might never, ever, ever make it to the big leagues. Stop having the fear of missing out. It happens. If you want to win, you have to make moves. And you're not going to just trade away crap to get good players, even if they're rentals. So crying over a 17-year-old getting traded who won't help this team until basically Manny and Xander are no longer on the team is ridiculous. Miguel Mendez is 24 years old. He is projected to be a number 5 starter at best, according to Fangraphs. You either believe Fangraphs or you don't. They projected to be a number 5 starter who makes it to the big leagues. You traded away a number 5 starter and a projected organizational depth piece. Both have high risk, well, Miguel Mendez medium risk, for 2 years of Robbie Ray. And I'm going to have to agree with some people in the YouTube chat. 3 years from now, you probably won't even remember any of those names. And you know what? If they do well, great. Good for them. You're not going to be able to keep everybody. And in order to make your team successful, you have to give up something of value. So the Giants value those 2 players. I like the deal. You didn't give up your 3 best players in Salas Mayfield and Schoolcraft. I think you're okay right now. We'll see what else the Padres are going to put together. Okay? Now, I did see this tweet from Joel Sherman, and I thought it was interesting. I like it. Okay? It's talking about the Padres. John Heyman had this as well. But according to Joel Sherman, sounds like the Padres are not done. They're going to try to get another starting pitcher. But here's what he said verbatim on social media, on X. Joel Sherman says, with Ray, the Padres still want another starting pitcher, but are also focused on a left-handed bat, maybe from the Alec Burleson, Dalton Varsho type group. They have always liked Jarren Duran, who's obviously not having a great year, and they have at least talked to the Baltimore Orioles about Jackson Holliday. So that's very interesting, to say the least. We saw some of the rumors about the Padres being linked to Jackson Holliday. I think that's an interesting link, if you will, because he obviously has not been that great for the Baltimore Orioles, but he's young, controllable, whatever. It's something that would, I think maybe it's you'd be taking a risk, but it's interesting to see. Now, the Red Sox finally got their deal done with Baltimore. According to Jeff Passan, the Red Sox have now, I just had it in my phone, let's just be dumb. Red Sox are acquiring 3-time All-Star catcher Adley Rutschman in a trade with the Baltimore Orioles, sources tell ESPN. That was being worked on earlier this morning. Sounds like Adley Rutschman is now a member of the Boston Red Sox, or at least it's being reported like that. So that's a big move for Boston. Let's talk about Joel Sherman for a second and what he had to say, Frank. I think the Padres definitely need another starting pitcher. Maybe they can go find one. I think the Jackson Holliday thing is interesting. I think if you look at some of the players that St. Louis has that can fit the left-handed hitting group, I think is interesting. I don't necessarily know. I'm like super in on like a Jarren Duran type. I mean, I get the Padres and AJ Preller have loved Jarren Duran. I know he hit a home run last night against the Dodgers. He has had a rough season. I don't necessarily know he's like a big bat pickup that you need.
No, I told you during the break. I think if you can trade for Mickey Moniak and trade either Wandy or Yuki or both to get starting pitching depth, I think that would be kind of the perfect trade deadline at this point. I don't think you don't want to replace Ty France right now. Jake Cronenworth is hitting now. You need an outfielder. You need a corner outfielder. Mickey Moniak fits that bill. Local kid, doesn't cost a lot. Probably won't cost a lot if you want to extend him. And starting pitching depth is something that you need. And with Yuki Matsui and Wandy Peralta both having good seasons, I think that's something you can get, either a prospect possibly for one or for both of those guys. I think that would be the perfect trade deadline for this team.
I
capped off with Robbie Ray, of course.
I'm interested. Like the Alec Burleson thing is interesting. Okay,
Laureano's hurt for the year. I just saw that comment in chat.
Yeah, he's out. How do you come? Alec Burleson's hitting 284 this year. He's part of the Cardinals that have had a really good offensive year. They're starting to come back down to earth. Sounds like they might be on the selling side of things. Alec Burleson is 27 years old, 284 average, 805 OPS. He's got a 127 OPS plus. He has hit 15 home runs this year with 71 RBIs. Alec Burleson this season, he's an outfielder. He plays first base. The left-handed hitter that you're looking for. This is something that would be interesting for the Padres if they could pull it off. I'd have to look at his contract to see where it fits in terms of is he a rental or not. But a guy like Alec Burleson, young, I think that would be a decent move for the Padres. Alec Burleson right now, he is the thing with Alec Burleson, Frank, he's 27. He's under control until 2029. So you'd be getting him for a couple of years if you're able to pull that move off.
He's a first baseman, too, I believe.
Yeah, he plays first. He plays out. He can play some outfield. I don't know how much of both he's done.
Have you seen the way Burleson moves?
Yeah. Hey, they say he can play out.
I wouldn't want him in the outfield.
Do you want to bat, though? I mean, a lot of the guys that hit the ball very hard aren't very good at moving. So
I'd rather have him at first base.
But where's Ty France play?
Exactly.
I'd rather have Ty France at first base. I mean, if we're thinking defensively, Mickey Moniak doesn't hit as well as Alec Burleson. I mean, Moniak would be nice though. I don't mind the Alec Burleson thing. The other one they said was Nolan Gorman, was another potential player for that the Padres could be interested. I've seen that report pop up. I mean, Nolan Gorman again is a younger player. Also a left-handed hitter. The Cardinals are... correction, not Nolan Gorman. I'm sorry. It was Lars Nootbaar. That's what he said. Lars Nootbaar. They're all... I mean, it's all part of that like core that they had over there in St. Louis. Lars Nootbaar, yeah, he's the outfielder that's a left-handed hitter. Lars Nootbaar this year is hitting 234, not as great on the average side of things. 688 OPS. He's done okay. Hasn't been that great. He's not like the slug you're looking for. He's had a little bit of a tough year because he has been hurt. But that is a interesting move for the Padres. Also, Lars Nootbaar, you would have control over for the next year. Alec Burleson, you would have for the next 2 years. But again, these are players that you could potentially have these are the moves that you can pull off if you're the San Diego Padres as of right now. But the report was that they're getting Robbie Ray. He has been electric in his last month or so. I don't mind this kind of rental. I don't really believe the like massive overpay that people are saying it is, because I can't really get behind, paying like giving up a 17-year-old that is a high risk player as a massive overpay. If they would have given up Cruz Schoolcraft in this deal, I would probably lean towards that. I don't know why giving up a player that is closer to helping you out in a starting pitching category that you've needed for a long time to be, for 2 months, I think would be dumb. But that's an interesting. I like the move. I like the move for to get Robbie Ray. Now, other moves that happen. What I don't get is I guess that. So you said Chris Bubik was put on the injured list, the 60-day IL on July 1st.
He was transferred to the 60-day IL. If you look at his player page on MLB.com, it shows at the very bottom, it shows all of his transactions, his most recent transactions. And it said that he had been transferred to the 60-day IL back on July 1st with elbow soreness.
So that's what it says on the official page?
MLB.com, I'm looking at it right now. Latest transactions, July 1st, 2026. Kansas City Royals placed left-handed pitcher Chris Bubik on the 60-day IL, left elbow soreness.
Yeah, it's interesting that the Dodgers would make that move.
And I
guess the stockpile the guy, but he's a free agent at the end of the year.
And that was after June 9th and June 24th when they sent him to Omaha on rehab assignments. So he was originally placed on the IL on May 18th with left elbow soreness. June 9th and June 24th, he was sent on rehab assignments to the Storm Chasers. And then July 1st, he was moved to the 60-day.
Okay, so as of late July, he formally cleared to resume baseball activities, started flat ground throwing, progressed on July 25th, stretched his distance out to 80 feet. I mean, it sounds like he might be coming back, but he was on the 60-day injured list on June 30th. I'm sure that they can activate him sooner because I'm pretty sure you get some of the days if you get put on the 60-day injured list. So
I think he's, you get that time, quote unquote, time served already. So he would be eligible to come right off of the 60-day IL.
It sounds like he's expected to pitch again for the season's end, provided he faces no further complications, but he had a shoulder issue, which is his original problem, and then it turned into an elbow issue. So I just don't understand why they would need that move. Okay, it's a free agent, too, which doesn't make any sense. That was kind of like the head-scratching one that happened. But, the other moves that have happened, like Adley Rutschman, I think that's a big play for the Red Sox. The other one that happened was the Rays went and got their catcher, which I think led to the Red Sox pulling the trigger on Adley Rutschman. But the Rays went out and got Liam Hicks. It sounds like they're giving up Jacob Kisting, Adrian Santana, and Braden Taylor, the TCU Horned Frog, who was one of their top prospects over. The other news I saw with the Padres, and again, we'll keep you updated as we are about to be 2 hours in. The other interesting I saw from friend of the show, Ryan Divish, who covers the Mariners for The Athletic. The Mariners checked in with the Padres on Mason Miller, and the Padres asked about Kate Anderson, and that conversation quickly ended.
I'm going to hang up for a reason completely unrelated to this topic of conversation.
Hey, you still thinking about trading Mason Miller? Yeah, sure. Kate Anderson would be great. We'll get back to you. We'll table that. We'll get back to you on that one.
So,
this is what I'm talking about with when players are for sale but not really for sale. Everybody's got a number, but AJ Preller seems like he has answered everybody's call for Mason Miller with, "We'll take the greatest player that's ever been through your organization." No, not okay. Yeah, we'll think about that. We'll get back to you. End the line. I don't mind that. I just that. I honestly if they were willing to do that, I think Preller would have to think about it for a second. I think he would. I think he'd have to think about it. But We'll keep you updated on what's going on. We're 2 hours in. We got 2 hours to go. We will have Kyle Glaser on with us at 1 o'clock. He'll be helping us break down this Robbie Ray trade. Sounds like the Padres still want to add another starting pitcher. Sounds like they want to add a left-handed bat. There's still a lot of arms and bats out there. We're just getting started on our coverage. When we come back, we'll keep you updated. We start the new lunchtime hour. New lunchtime hour on the Fan. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. Thanks again for making our day a part of yours with today's trade deadline. Happy trade deadline day here in San Diego. Padres buyers now kind of almost officially. We'll wait to hear the official report from San Diego when they make it official. But the reports are, if you're just tuning in, the Padres have agreed to a deal, reportedly, with the San Francisco Giants for Robbie Ray. They are going to get a couple of prospects in return. One of them being a 17-year-old prospect for the Padres is going to San Francisco. He is a shortstop. He's going to San Francisco. Joniel Hernandez, and then the other player is in the top 5 prospects in the Padres organization. Miguel Mendez, he's a 24-year-old pitching prospect in Double-A. He is currently on a rehab assignment in High A Fort Wayne. He is on his way now to the San Francisco Giants organization. I personally do not think this is a massive overpay for a rental. I think some trade machines call it a slight overpay, if you will, for a rental. I don't view it like that. I think you might be in a situation, Frank, in order to get a major league player from a division rival, maybe you do have to slightly overpay in that particular sense. But the fact that the Padres acquired Robbie Ray and the Giants are paying for half of his remaining salary, I think that's a win. We'll see what this kid turns into. The 17-year-old per se, the shortstop prospect that's playing in the Dominican Summer League. And we'll see what Miguel Mendez has. But as of right now, I think I chalk this one up for the Padres, but you'll never be able to evaluate trades until years down the road. And we'll see what Robbie Ray's got. But right now, Frank, he has been dealing since June. He has had a 1.09 ERA in his last 8 starts. He has been 6-0 in those starts. And, oh, by the way, he's the only pitcher to beat the Padres in the last 10 days.
Yeah, he has been very, very good. Not a bad trade at all, I don't think. This, again, gives you your number 2 starter that you've been looking for and that you've needed now pretty much all season. So I'm not opposed to this trade at all. Like I said last segment, I think if you get Mickey Moniak and probably a prospect or 2 for Yuki Matsui, Freddy Peralta, and or I think it'll be a perfect deadline day for the Padres.
I think so too. I think they're still on the hunt. I mean, the latest report we had specifically to the Padres was from Joel Sherman. Joel Sherman had announced that the Padres were still looking for more pieces. The other report we got was, and I find this to be interesting, and maybe it's like a move for the future, but I find it interesting that is now a couple of different reporters are talking about the Padres have checked in with the Orioles about Jackson Holliday. Jackson Holliday is 22 years old. He was the number 1 overall pick not too long ago. He has not necessarily had the greatest of times in Baltimore. He plays second base. He is a shortstop. He hits left-handed. The Padres are looking for a left-handed bat. I don't know what they would have to give up, probably something decent, right? But he's under control until 2031, under contract. And this season, we've heard a lot of things about Jackson Holliday not being that great, or maybe being a little disappointing as number 1 overall pick. He's still 22. He's got a 0.8 WAR. And he's batting .252 this season with a .742 OPS. He is above a league average player in terms of OPS plus, as he's got a 111 on that. He's got 5 home runs, got a triple, got 5 doubles. He's got pretty solid numbers for a 22-year-old. And Frank, you mentioned he has been very good as of late in comparison to the entire year. Maybe this could be a good time to go get a guy like Jackson Holliday. But I would imagine if the Orioles are going to trade him, you're parting ways with somebody in your top 3.
Yeah, from what it looks like, I mean, looking at Jackson Holliday on the roster, right now, again, he's, as you said, he's hitting .252, 5 homers, 20 RBIs. But if you look at his splits, the last 7 days, he's hitting .391, 4 RBIs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, and 9 hits. Last 15 days, he's hitting .364 with 5 RBIs and 7 walks. Last 30, he's hitting .312 with 8 RBIs, 17 walks, 19 strikeouts. So he is starting to figure it out. On-base percentage from 415 to 30, 462, 440, 442, 432. Slugging percentage 435, 409, 390. So he's starting to figure it out. He hasn't played well his last 2 games. He's 0 for 6 with 5 strikeouts in the last 2 games. But still, those are very encouraging numbers over the last month of games for the former number 1 overall pick in the baseball draft.
They always find a way, or like AJ Preller always finds a way to make like some interesting move that you didn't think was available. Sounded like the Rangers were open for business, but then I saw another report, and I got to go back and look at it, because I saw it from Evan Grant, who is the beat writer for the Texas Rangers. And he now works for the Dallas Morning News. He used to work for MLB.com. But an hour ago, he tweeted out, it does appear the Rangers have made their call. They are not selling. I say this again, knowing things can always get weird. I mean, they were shopping players a second ago. Like, literally before he put that tweet out an hour ago, it seemed like they were shopping. And they traded away Josh Smith to Toronto, and you thought things were going to be open. Then it sounded like, they were looking at potentially sending away Jacob deGrom, but Jacob deGrom had no interest in doing that. He waived his no trade clause.
He invoked his no trade clause.
Right. He not waived. He invoked his no trade clause. But like now all of a sudden they're not going to sell. I find it to be interesting. What a quick change. Like all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I think we're going to be able to win now. Evan Grant then tweeted out, the bet will be that this team will get healthy, has a favorable schedule, and with some minor adds, maybe still a right-handed hitting outfielder or another right-handed bullpen arm, they will play their best baseball. What a drastic change for the Texas Rangers from when we jumped on the air to about an hour ago, in which they went from, we are listening on anybody in our organization, which included names like Corey Seager and Mackenzie Gore and Jacob deGrom, to now it's like we're not selling at all. Maybe they listened for a little bit and didn't like anything that they got back.
That could be it. I mean, if they thought, again, and it goes back to that conversation that we had last week, is proximity over record. They're still within a wild card. They're still within the wild card hunt. They're still very much there. They're still within the division hunt. So to punt now kind of feels a little premature, even though this is your last opportunity to make a decision on that. They're still too close to go full on fire sale like some of these other teams have been.
Right. Other updates for you. I mean, we've got the Adley Rutschman deal has gone through. Sounds like it was a lot, but for the Boston Red Sox, you better strike while the iron's hot. I mean, this is so like, here's what you get for the Orioles now, and this is why like the Orioles are. This is amazing. They failed. This is something that the Brewers haven't done yet. They haven't gone to the tank. But the Orioles are a team that never wanted. They wanted to tank for their core and then be part of their core. Right? They wanted to stick to it. They didn't want to take away from it. They had all these prospects. They load up on prospects, and in return for the first of 4 years of tanking, the Orioles get 0 playoff wins. And the prospects from the Red Sox make it make sense. Well, the ownership at that time made a lot of money. That's what Buster Olney said. I mean, what are the Orioles doing? What is their plan exactly?
I mean, and it makes sense as well. I mean, Jake Rogers, they just picked him up off of waivers from Detroit, so it does make sense that Rutschman would go. But how interesting is that, by the way? I just saw that. Adley Rutschman, if I remember correctly, he was a number 1 overall pick, was he not?
He was, yeah. He was a high pick for sure. I think he was the number 1 overall pick.
How many teams can say that they potentially traded 2 number 1 overall picks at the same trade deadline?
I don't know what they're doing. I don't. So I guess the Orioles are receiving catcher Carlos Narvaez and 4 of the Red Sox top prospects. Anthony Eisen, Kyson Witherspoon, Andy Azokar, Harold Rios. This is going to be an organization that continues to sell their fans the future and just always get young prospects and then just continue to trade them away. They are in perennial baseball fan hell because it's not like they're the Rays that win with some of these guys. They are literally just going to load up on prospects the whole time. And this even adds even more conversation. Maybe this will perk your ears. What in the world is Pete Alonso doing?
I was just about to say that. This comes at the same exact year where they signed Pete Alonso to a massive deal. A massive for them, at least. So you have and we were in Baltimore as it was happening. I was sitting across from Camden Yards when Pete Alonso was being introduced. There was so much buzz about this team in December and January. After getting a big name like Pete Alonso, and now you're selling off 1 for sure and potentially 2 of your number 1 overall picks.
The Mets have made a move with the Pirates. The Pirates are pushing to acquire Mets reliever Luke Weaver. A source said they're also in talks on other bullpen options. I think the Pirates are going to do the bare minimum to look like they're trying, like they did during the offseason. I mean, they gave up $500,000 in international signing bonus pool money for Ron Marinaccio.
I'm surprised.
And then they went and got Doval, who, like, Yankees fans, man. Yankees fans last year were, like, losing their mind when they picked up Doval. And then after 1 year, they were also losing their minds when they gave up Doval. They were like, yep, see ya. Can't wait to get rid of him. And then you know what Doval does in his first outing with the Pirates? Gets absolutely shelled about Cincinnati Reds.
It's more or less what happened to the Mets last year when they picked up Ryan Helsley and Gregory Soto, who's also a Pirate now. I'm surprised they're not going after a bat, especially when you look at what Ozuna's done this year, and also didn't Ryan O'Hearn just get hurt too?
He did. He looked like he pulled a hamstring.
Yeah,
bad.
so
I mean, that's what I don't know what his official ruling was, but he looked like he pulled something that's not going to keep him around for a while. But I didn't get the report after, nor did I see how he's feeling afterwards. It was just I saw the highlight; didn't look very good.
Yeah, no. I'm looking at the roster now. He's on the 10-day IL. Is Ryan O'Hearn with a left quad strain?
Yeah, that's a problem.
He was put on the IL on Saturday.
Yeah, that looked like an injury that he's going to be dealing with for a couple of weeks.
And this is after in May he strained his right quad.
Braxton Garrett is going to Chicago.
And that's after the Reed Detmers trade officially went through. So Reed Detmers is also going to the Cubbies as well.
Has that gone through?
From what I saw,
I haven't seen anybody report on that one yet. I've seen people in the chat say it. I have not seen it on MLB Network or any of the big names unless it happened this morning. But I haven't seen the Detmers one go through yet.
Oh, no, that was okay. So Jesse Rogers
Mark
from
Feinstein,
ESPN.
Yeah, Mark Feinstein said sources told me the Angels starter Reed Detmers has not been traded to the Cubs.
Okay, so that was
to the contrary.
So that was a report that has been
correct
overturned.
Yes. All right. So according to Jeff Passan, the Cubs are acquiring left-hander Braxton Garrett. They're in desperate need for pitching. It's not surprising to me that Chicago is out there just getting as many arms as possible. Brewers getting Dustin May and JoJo Romero from the Cardinals.
That's got to annoy Brewers fans even more.
That's what they decided to do. I think the Brewers have lost the trade deadline. They have lost the trade deadline. Braxton Garrett to go into the Cubs. He is a left-handed pitcher.
Where did he come from?
Who?
Garrett.
Braxton Garrett. He's been in Miami.
Miami, okay.
They got him from Miami. Braxton Garrett this year has only he's only started 2 games. He's gone 4 1/3. He's given up 7 earned runs. So who knows? The Brewers. I think the Brewers failed even more because of the fact that they went and got Dustin May. Are you kidding me, man? I don't want to hear one more thing until they win a World Series. I don't want to hear about the Brewers being the greatest org ever. We all want to be the Brewers. Look at the Brewers. Look at the Brewers. Are you kidding me? The Brewers they're not bold. They don't do bold things. They are safe. We're safe. They play things safe. And when you play things safe, you don't freaking win. Go ask the Rays, who play things safe. The Brewers have never been able to get over the hump of the playoffs, whether it be the Mets or the Dodgers multiple times. And they had a chance with the farm system they have, and with Tarik Skubal being available, and with the loaded pitching and the loaded team that they had the chance to actually go for a World Series. They don't get Skubal. They don't want to give up Mate. And you know what they go get? They get 5-7, 4.38 ERA, Dustin May. The Brewers do not have what it takes to win a World Series. They don't have the organization that wants to take a chance and go after it. They could have been a favorite to win the World Series if they picked up Skubal. And instead, they got Dustin May? Bro.
That trade's an insult to the fan base.
That is such an insult. Like, it's okay, man. I know we missed out on Tarik Skubal, but here's Dustin May. Man. You think Brewers fans are getting in line for Dustin May jerseys today?
That's going to get over like a fart in church.
I mean, what are you doing? You could have had Mizorowski and Skubal 1-2, and you could have just shoved it. You could have shoved against the Dodgers. You could have gone into a series going like, good luck. Try to hit these two guys. Nothing. No guts. Yeah, May's fine. He's not Tarik Skubal.
Yeah, the Brewers had a choice between Tarik Skubal with all of the prospects that they have. That's a team that could have gotten him.
I'm tired of people telling me they got a brighter future than the Padres. No, they don't. They don't have a bright future. You want to know why? Because when those guys get to contract age, guess who leaves? All those players they have. They're just going to be continually in purgatory in Milwaukee. It's going to be, we're good enough to win the division. We will never beat the Dodgers in the playoffs because we don't want to take a chance. That's what that is. Until they prove us otherwise, that's Milwaukee. They are Cleveland. They are good enough to make the playoffs, never good enough to actually win in the playoffs. If that's winning to you, fine. But if you're going to knock the Padres for not winning a World Series, I want to see the same sentiment to the Brewers who make the playoffs and don't do S with it. Because they don't have any guts to go get a big name at the deadline. They don't have the guts to add to their team. They're safe. God, this trade deadline is the Brewers making sickening decisions. We don't want to win. Seriously.
Yeah, this trade deadline has exposed the Brewers, if nothing else.
Milwaukee's got the farm system. It's Skubal. They got the farm. No, they don't. They got the farm system to get Mason Miller. No, they don't. Because they never trade those guys. They don't have what it takes to get to the next level. They had the opportunity. They could have went out there and been bold. They could have traded Mate. They had like all these guys in the top 100. They could have traded it for starting pitching. They could have traded it for a bullpen guy. The Padres winning probably forced the hand. But the Brewers could have done what they could have done what LA does. They're a joke.
They made the same exact mistake Baltimore made. Same exact one.
They did. Just try to compete. Just try. You're trying to win. The future's bright. We got all these guys that have never played Major League Baseball before, but you know what? All the Major League Baseball teams tell me as a fan that These prospects, the future. Prospects, the future. Don't buy the garbage that the big market teams tell you. Look at the teams right now. Baltimore, they are thinking about trading away Jackson Holiday. They just traded away freaking Adley Rutschman. They are already blowing it up. They got nothing to show for it. That was the tank and load up on prospects. Brewers. Oh, my God. Foul on the Brewers. What a failure of a trade deadline.
Foul. No, 2 fouls.
We got to take a break. I need to calm down. This is a joke. Freaking Milwaukee. Talk about a gutless organization, Milwaukee. Hey, man, we could have had Tarik Skubal. That's okay. I got you Dustin May. What's that meme with that kid crying at the table? Kid thought he was going to get this, and instead he got this. That is Milwaukee Brewers fans. This is why, and I said, I know I got to go to break, but this is why I saw it. Did you see those reports that, they were like, oh, the Brewers are interested in Mason Miller? Did anybody read the comments from Brewers fans? They said, our organization has no gall to actually make a move like this. You just saw it. You just saw it.
CC Sabathia. That was the
That's
last
it.
time you could remotely say the Brewers have done this.
That's the last time. We got to get to break. Maybe I'll rip the Brewers some more. I'll let you know what else is going on the trade deadline. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Thank good. You know what? I'm glad I'm not the only one upset with the Milwaukee Brewers. And the more that I sit here and think about what happened over the weekend, the more I'm mad at the Brewers. And then the biggest insult to their own fans is, hey, I know we didn't get Tarik Skubal, or as least reported, didn't really put too much of a package together. I know that we had way better prospects than what the Dodgers ended up giving up for Tarik Skubal. But you know what? Hey, guys, we got a starting pitcher. Here's Dustin May.
That is such a slap in the face.
Right? Like, it's great. I know it's not Skubal, it's Dustin May. You know, he's a former Dodger, and he throws really hard, and
that's one of those
he
things
can help
where
us. But here's JoJo Romero. You know, he's really good.
If the Mets are in contention, and if the Mets are tied with the Dodgers for first place in the National League at the trade deadline, and the Mets are just as linked to Tarik Skubal, but put the Mets in the Brewers' exact position. If the Mets fail to get Skubal for next to nothing, and then try to pass off Dustin May as being just as good, I am renouncing my Met fandom.
Wasn't it Pete Alonso and Jorge Polanco?
That is a slap in the face to the fan base. We didn't get this guy. We couldn't get this guy, even though you could have. And next you try to sell me Dustin May as being the solution. I'm sorry. You were better off not making a trade.
I saw a tweet earlier today. It was like, every time the Brewers are in the playoffs, I'm just glad they have one extra guy with a 2.6 WAR and a 720 OPS. Yeah, Milwaukee, you guys are killing it. You guys are doing a great job. Killing it.
I would love to have the May Romero deal for the Padres. Sure.
I wouldn't mind that.
It makes more sense for the Padres to do that. It doesn't make any sense for Milwaukee to do that.
We have official news. It's now official, according to the San Diego Padres. The Padres have acquired left-handed pitcher Robbie Ray and cash considerations to pay for half his contract from San Francisco in exchange for right-handed pitcher Miguel Mendez and infielder Joniel Hernandez. So, the trade is now official. Robbie Ray is officially a member of the San Diego Padres. It's good. It's a formality, right? But we can't say that he is a Padre until the Padres announce that he is a Padre, which makes sense due to other trade deadlines where you thought somebody was going to be a Padre, and then they weren't. So Robbie Ray now officially part of this rotation. I'm sure we'll get more information on how the Padres are going to handle that when Craig Stammen meets with the media. We will, at 4 o'clock, be carrying the A.J. Preller post-trade deadline press conference live on 97.3 The Fan at 4 o'clock Pacific time. So stay tuned for that. The deadline, again, is at 3 o'clock on Gwen and Chris's show. We got about another hour and a half on our show. We're going to keep you updated on major moves. Kyle Glaser is going to join us in the next 30 minutes or so to talk more about what has happened today. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure they will announce a roster move closer to game time. We don't even know if I'm sure they're putting Robbie Ray on a plane from Texas where the Giants are at. Who knows if Robbie Ray even traveled with the Giants, if they thought they were going to trade him or not. He wasn't expected to pitch until tomorrow anyway. But, we'll see if he's in the dugout tonight. But there's a lot of, if you're not going to use him until tomorrow, maybe you don't make a roster move until tomorrow. I mean, there's a lot going on.
I need to address this in the chat. Glenn Allen, DAJ in the chat. Milwaukee couldn't afford to pay for Skubal's extension. Why does that stop you from having him for the next 2 months? How does that stop you? You don't need him to sign an extension if you win a World Series this year because he will have done the job that you traded for him to do.
Right.
Just because you can't sign a guy to an extension doesn't mean you shouldn't trade for him to help him get you a World Series right now.
Let's keep tracking on some of the other news and notes that have popped out there. Again, we are the Braden Surprenant Show. We're on each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number sports station, 97.3 The Fan. If you haven't done so already, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. We're here every day. We're going to have post deadline reaction later on this afternoon that we're going to post on our social media page or on our YouTube page at @B_SURP. You can subscribe there. You can also be a member on there as well. We do have some show merch that we have also that if you're watching on the Braden Surprenant Show page, we've got a lot of people in the YouTube chat on there as well. Over 111 of you on there. We're flashing up some of our shirts that we have that you could purchase if you would like to have one of those. We also have a link in the description below for both the 97 through the fan page and the Braden Surprenant Show page. We appreciate you guys tuning in today. Lots to talk about on the trade deadline. We got more information coming down by the minute. We haven't even really talked about what happened over the weekend. Probably won't do that until tomorrow at this point, but Robbie Ray has now officially become a San Diego Padre, according to the San Diego Padres. They put out the welcome graphic. Welcome to San Diego, Robbie Ray. All right, so Padres got one of the starting pitching spots filled. They want to get another one. They're looking for it. They're looking for a left-handed bat. Still a lot to get to. We will let you know about anything that comes down with the Padres when we return on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Sports Station 97 through the fan. 12:39 on MLB Trade Deadline Day. The trade deadline is at 3 o'clock. Joining us for the next hour and plus, and we'll be on Gwynn and Chris, is our guest. He doesn't join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. He's live in studio here in the Bill House Studios. SDCCU, it's not Big Bank Banking, it's better. It is none other than Kyle Glaser, who joins us every once in a while on 97.3 The Fan. Wealth of baseball knowledge, wealth of knowledge on how organizations and how each organization really works. And we've had a pretty fun trade deadline. I think you got your big blockbuster move over the weekend with Tarik Skubal, Kyle, but you're seeing a lot of players move today. It seems very busy for a trade deadline, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of teams that still think they're in this thing.
No question about it. First of all, Braden, I have to say, it's good to be on with you. Brotherhood of Delmar Heights Road, Torrey Pines High grad, Cathedral Catholic High grad, love it. But you're right, going into today, 17 teams were either in playoff position or within 2 games of playoff position. You are going to have a lot of buyers, a lot of interest, and a lot of players that could fill the various needs of these teams. So there's no question it's a buyer's market. There's a lot of needs out there, a lot of teams that believe they're still in it, and that's why we're seeing so much movement.
Let's talk about some of the moves. So we were talking off air, and I want to talk about this first. And we're going to be live reacting to a lot of different news as it comes about from a lot of our insiders. But let's start with the Padres. Yeah. They officially get Robbie Ray. Yeah. I think a lot of, here's my thing. I'm like, unless you're religiously watching maybe some of these players, and you used to do it a lot for Baseball America. You're watching a lot of minor league players. Unless you're one person that was watching this guy every single day, I mean, the players back that the Padres gave up for Robbie Ray. Yeah, one of them is the top 4 prospect according to MLB Pipeline. The other was top 10. Fangraphs had that same player at 26. There's all a bunch of different rankings. How do you evaluate what the Padres had to do to get a rental of a pitcher in Robbie Ray?
Yeah, first and foremost, I love the deal for the Padres. Robbie Ray is still pitching at a very, very high level. He's in the division. He pitches in a similar ballpark with similar ballpark effects. There's not going to be any sort of transition period here. He is ready to come in from day one and pitch effectively for the Padres. And he also gives them a left-handed starter, which they have not had regularly in their rotation since Martin Perez 2 years ago when they acquired him at the deadline. So there's a lot of things to like here. In terms of who they gave up, yeah, I mean, these are talented young kids, right? Not top 100 types, but good players. Miguel Mendez, look, it's fastball into the triple digits, hard slider. He's had some injuries. He has some wildness. Typically, this kind of guy ends up in the bullpen. He has a chance to be a late inning, high leverage kind of reliever who can potentially close down games later in his career. Janiel Hernandez is a top international signing. He's done really, really well in the DSL this year. And you mentioned that spread of prospect rankings. It's because guys this young, there's such a wide range of outcomes. But, I mean, he can really play shortstop. He's 6'2", 175. You can see him filling out. There's a real chance he hits for, power and average. So, again, good player, but he's also 5-6 years away, and a lot can happen between now and then. So the Padres paid, I would say, a slightly higher price than what we've seen for other rental pitchers in terms of Freddy Peralta, Kevin Gausman, but they also have the Giants paying down half the contract. That's why.
And I talked about that before we knew the details. I said, I mentioned on it, A.J. Preller has done a pretty good job of when he acquires rentals. He gets most of the contract paid off for that first year. They did it with Luis Arraez. They did it with Ramon Laureano, Ryan O'Hearn. Yeah. You might have to give a little bit more for that, but if the Padres are working with somewhat of a stricter budget and they're adding payroll like Robbie Ray, sometimes you do have to give a little bit more up. And I think that's fine for the fact that the Giants are going to cover about half of the remaining salary.
Yeah, and for the Padres, again, just where they are financially, it's something they have to have. And if that means they have to trade, slightly higher caliber prospects than other teams who would be able to take on the full salary, I mean, it just is where they are. And I do think when you look at, again, yes, Robbie Ray's a rental, got 2 months of him. Are the Padres materially hurting their future by not having Miguel Mendez and, Janiel Hernandez in their system? I mean, maybe 5 years from now, Hernandez goes off and you kind of regret it a little bit. But I think the odds of that happening, just what we know about DSL players, I wouldn't worry about it too much.
And this is the other thing, too. It's like, and we're going to move on to a lot of other different topics today. And Kyle Glaser is joining us for the final part of our show in this hour and then in the next hour. But A.J. Preller's done a pretty good job of finding these guys.
Yeah.
And not to say he's always going to hit, right? But he found Leo DeVries, and he found Ethan Salas, and now with the play, who's to say he's not going to find another 16, 17-year-old that's all of a sudden off the charts? I mean, it's high-risk players when they're that young. I mean, you're talking about kids that are like high school kids that are, you're trying to work through professional baseball. Yeah. It's a massive risk it's still a massive risk for the Giants when he becomes a San Francisco Giant to be part of that organization.
And you understand from the Giants' perspective, they are way out of it. They're a mess. They're selling off. They are looking to the future. The Padres, to their credit, have a chance to win now, which, by the way, 2 weeks ago, that did not like it was going to look like it was going to be the case. I cannot give this team enough credit. They dropped 5 of 7 coming out of the All-Star break. They are dead in the water. They are hanging on by a thread with zero margin for error, and then they go 8-1 over the next 9 games. And yes, it's the Giants, it's the Rockies, it's the Marlins in the midst of a 10-game losing streak. But look, you have to win your games, period. This isn't NCAA basketball where there's quad 1 wins or quad 2 wins. They all count the same.
You don't need a resume. You got to get into the playoffs.
So the fact they're even in position to add, I think, is a tremendous testament to this group of players. And this coaching staff has taken a lot of heat this year, and I would say deservedly so. But if you're going to criticize, you have to also give credit when they do something right. They have done a lot of things right, especially over the last month, and we can get into some of the breakdowns there. But the point is, the fact the Padres are in this position in the first place, testament to everyone involved. And I do think they did a nice job taking advantage, getting a good high-end pitcher at his best. And the guys they gave up, if they hurt them, it's going to be a long time from now, during which time the Padres can absolutely backfill their system with lots and lots of other talented players.
We're going to get into a lot of that. I think just because you brought it up from the coaching standpoint, everybody wanted Souza gone because of the beginning part of the season. Then you get the report that, Manny was working with Teacher Man, right, on the offseason, and then he had to, fix his swing. But, and Fernando is, working with his dad. He's at the pressure of his dad of being an all-around hitter. We've heard all of those reports, right? And then all of a sudden, they've turned it around. I think all the at-bats from everybody has been drastically better than they were at the beginning of the season, just from a standpoint of not chasing as much and grinding out pitches. And honestly, is the chaos pitching a recipe for long-term success? No, but you got to give the coaching staff credit of okay, we have these players. We're not getting anybody new for the next couple of weeks. We have to find a way to win. And they thought they were thinking outside the box, and so far it has worked, albeit, like you mentioned, against teams that aren't very good. But you know what? They had to find a way to win, and they weren't going to continue to do the same thing over and over again and hope for a different result.
No question about it. Like you said, pitching chaos, it's not something you can do for more than a couple weeks at a time. You're going to burn your guys out. But given the situation they were in, how they were not getting effective starts, using these guys as traditional starters, they've had to get creative. And that is not easy. Piecing together a pitching plan like this 3 out of 5 days. And let's not forget, Walker Buehler's averaging less than 5 innings a start. So realistically, it's 4 out of 5 days you have to piece things together. And they've done it, and they've done it well. Again, that is not easy. Craig Stammen and his staff deserve a lot of credit for this. And I don't want to monologue too long, but everything you said about the hitting, there's a lot to dive into there. We have seen substantial improvements in their plate discipline and scaling back the aggressiveness, and that is why we have seen the team-wide success we have had.
We're talking with Kyle Glaser. He's going to be in studio with us. We're the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 The Fan. We're here every single day from 10 to 2. If you're just tuning in for some trade deadline coverage, we did have some more trades go down since talking to you, and some rumors. The Cubs have picked up a right-handed reliever, and Ryan Zefferjon from the Los Angeles Angels. They had not picked up Ray Detmers yet. That was kind of hot early this morning. That has cooled off. We haven't gotten any further reports on that, but the Cubs need pitching in a bad way, and they're doing everything they can to get as many arms into Chicago as possible.
I actually think thus far the Cubs have had one of the best trade deadlines of any team. Bringing in Kevin Gausman, bringing in Braxton Garrett. Ryan Zefferjon has been very, very good for the Angels this year. Look, we'll see if they actually end up getting Detmers, but even if they don't, I like this deadline a lot for them. I also love it because, and I heard you talking about this earlier, and there's a lot of truth to what you said, the Brewers have utterly failed at this deadline, and the Cubs smell blood in the water, and they know that the team ahead of them isn't going to do what's needed to really become a true World Series contender. They're saying, okay, let's load up. We can take you down if we do that. So I like it both from an individual player addition perspective and what it means in the bigger picture of how aggressive the Cubs are being, seeing just frankly how disappointing and shockingly bad the Brewers trade deadline has been.
We've had a couple more like Padre updates. Joel Sherman about an hour and a half ago mentioned the fact that the Padres, still want to add another starting pitcher.
Yep.
He also mentioned they need a left-handed bat. He threw out Alec Burleson as a potential bat, perhaps from the Cardinals. He threw out Lars Nootbaar. He mentioned that the Padres have been interested way in the past in a guy like Jarren Duran, which I don't know how much that's going to help you in this year. And the latest update we had was from Mark Feinsand about the Clay Holmes market.
Yeah.
It is active. 2+ hours left in the trade deadline. Among the teams interested, Diamondbacks, Brewers, Padres, White Sox, and Braves. Wide-ranging market. The Mets could take him down to the wire. That's obviously a lot to unpack right there, but the Padres got one starting pitcher. Based on all the information that we obviously know there, where do you think the next move is potentially for the Padres if they can align for somebody?
It's absolutely starting pitching. Coming into this deadline, you knew the Padres needed 2 starting pitchers. That was the bare minimum. Look, Nick Pivetta and Joe Musgrove are coming back, yes, but Joe Musgrove is coming off a Tommy John surgery that has knocked him out for the better part of 2 years. There's no guarantees what he'll look like when he comes back. Nick Pivetta coming off a flexor strain. Flexor strain is a very scary term you hear for pitchers that a lot of times is a prelude to something else. So obviously you hope he's able to come back, be 100% and go back to being who he was last year. But the Padres need to add insurance in the event that one or both of them are not quite the level of ace they have shown themselves to be in the past. Minimum 2 starting pitchers was always going to be what they need. And this is where, yes, Clay Holmes, I'll add Casey Mize in there as well, another rental the Padres are in on. We will see if they're able to beat the competitive buyers markets for both of these teams, because a lot of teams are interested. But there's no question that another starting pitcher is option A, B, and C for the Padres right now. I'd say the left-handed bat is so far down the list that that's a nice addition at the end. They need starting pitching. And again, I would say minimum one more. I wouldn't be shocked if they had 2.
What's your reaction to the Padres? I mean, and you've covered baseball for a long time, so obviously everybody's always making phone calls. Like the Mariners called the Padres this morning allegedly about Mason Miller, and then the Padres are like, cool, yeah, just give us, what was his name, Kate Anderson or something like that, their number 1 prospect, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, we'll get back to you, and then hung up and moved on. I was in the Jackson Holiday rumors. There's been multiple reports about that. I find that to be interesting. He's playing a lot better recently than he was. I know a lot of people have considered him a bust. He's still only 22 years old. I would imagine that is something that you would have to give up a decent amount for because of the fact that future guy. But you can't discredit AJ Preller. He is constantly looking for very athletic players that he thinks can help his team in the long run.
Always take the over on how many trades you think AJ Preller will make. There's no question. So I'm sitting here saying, yeah, they need another starting pitcher or 2. Left-handed bat is pretty far down the list of things they need comparatively. Watch them go get 3 starting pitchers and bring in 2 left-handed bats now. I mean, there's no question when you have players like that who are young and controllable, which is a big thing the Padres need. Yeah, Jackson Holiday would do great things in a Padres uniform. He'd look great in a Padres uniform. He's not coming cheap. And I would say the Padres have bigger needs, and given the limits of the talent in their farm system right now, I would say they should really use the capital they have to go get arms. If they can get a controllable arm, fantastic. But even just rental arms to help them get through this year before they start throwing packages out for left-handed hitters, including Jackson Holiday.
Well, the other thing, too, with Jackson Holiday, with how much time he is under control, if you really want him and the Orioles are interested in trading him, you probably could get him next year or in the offseason or like at any other time when maybe things change a little bit. What did you think? We only have like a little bit of time left. Real quick, what's your opinion on the Blue Jays trading away Gausman but then picking up Soriano from the Angels?
I actually really liked it. So Kevin Gausman has had a tremendous career. I mentioned I like the Cubs bringing him in. He has not been great this year. I think he'll do better in Chicago, getting out of the AL East, playing in front of an elite defense. Jose Soriano has frontline stuff and was showing you flashes while playing in the most inept organization in Major League Baseball. You get him in even a minor league functional organization, he's going to take off. You get him in Toronto, which, let's not forget, took a broken Dylan Cease last year and has turned him into the one of the best pitchers in the American League. They've gotten him back there this year. I think he's going to do wonders in Toronto. I think that for the Blue Jays, they've upgraded big time.
We got a lot more to break down with Kyle. We're going to get to him again when we get to the final hour of the show. Still lots to get to. We have a couple hours left in the trade deadline, which happens at 3 o'clock. You are listening to the Braden Surprenant Show. So our trade deadline coverage is brought to you by City Cruises Live. Experiences done different. More of it when we come back. Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show, broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how all of our baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi. One price, 5 years guaranteed. Xfinity. Imagine that. We're joined in studio by Kyle Glaser for this hour, breaking down the trade deadline. Again, the deadline is at 3 o'clock Pacific time. So Kyle is going to be on with Gwen and Chris for their final hour, their first hour, the final hour of the trade deadline leading up to 3 o'clock. We will be airing the A.J. Preller press conference live at 4 o'clock. So after the deadline, when they hopefully make a couple more moves for a starting pitcher and a left-handed bat, you'll be able to hear A.J. Preller talk about that at 4 o'clock. Of course, we still got the Equawater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt. We got Padres baseball getting ready for a huge series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that's kind of where I want to start here, Kyle. Just in what we have already seen happen, there's still a lot of time left. I mean, we see a lot of deals usually get done in the final hour or so. How do you think the National League wild card starts to shake out, knowing the teams that have bought, knowing the teams that haven't done anything yet but still can, and of course, teams that might not have done what they have needed to do so far?
I like what the Phillies have done. I know they've been backsliding hard, but I think they made the right reinforcements at this trade deadline to the point that I still feel pretty good about them staying in one of those wild card spots. I really think that 5 of the 6 NL playoff spots are locked up between the Dodgers, Brewers, Braves, Cubs, Phillies. I really don't see any of those teams falling out of it. That last spot, the Padres, given what they've done the last few weeks, plus adding Robbie Ray, yeah, they're absolutely in it. They're and 1 game back entering the day. The Diamondbacks are a legitimately good team. I would not count them out. They play good baseball. They have a lot of ways they can beat you. I covered them in the final series before the All-Star break when they swept the Dodgers. Again, they're not an easy team to play. I do think that when I look at who is still in the race, who has the most talent, I do think it will come down to the Diamondbacks and the Padres.
That's what makes this series so important. And this series now, all of a sudden, you would imagine that Robbie Ray would start one of these games here in Arizona. He was scheduled to pitch, I think, tomorrow for the Giants. We'll see if the Padres decide to have him pitch tomorrow against Arizona. But I thought the Padres made a good move by having Michael King pitch game 1 against Arizona. You already won 2 games against San Francisco. If you could get one more win out of pitching chaos against the Giants, who are trending in the very wrong direction, Michael King and now Robbie Ray set up to have 2 of your better pitchers ready to go in a very important series for the Padres.
No question. And again, you're going to say, well, it's early August. There's a lot of baseball left. We see all the time that one head-to-head series where if they just pulled out one more win, a lot of times that's the difference. I will say there's one other team that intrigues me, and I can't believe I'm saying these words, the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the reason is, yes, they're below 500. They're 3.5 out right now. They have one of the best offenses in baseball. They have one of the best collections of starting pitching, young starting pitching in baseball. They have one issue, and it's a big one. It's the bullpen. They have not done anything huge to address it yet, but in these next 2 hours, if they can really shore up this bullpen, I do think they're a legitimate threat. Again, will they? You never know if the Pirates are actually going to be willing to pay what it takes financially or in prospects. But if they do intrigue me as a team that could threaten the Padres and the Diamondbacks for that final wildcard spot.
What are they saying the biggest problem is with Paul Skeens right now, just not being as dominant as he's been? I mean, it's obviously a tough stretch, but this year it even started in game 1 where, New York Mets fans had the false sense of hope that they were going to be able to be really good this year after beating up on Paul Skeens. Apparently, everybody does that now. I had to throw that in. Frank, I just see if Frank's paying attention over there.
I will say some of that first game was O'Neill Cruz not knowing how to play center field.
That's also true.
That was bad. Skeens, there's a couple aspects here. The first is, yes, we've seen the velocity tick down a little bit. And the reality is, even when you have perfect mechanics, even when you're as big as strong as Paul Skeens is, holding 98 to 100 year after year after year, start after start after start, the human body just can't really do it. And so I do think we are seeing the effects of that a little bit. And again, sitting 96 is perfectly fine, but he's going to have to learn to adjust a little bit. And some of it also is, this is now his second full season. He came up after starting AAA the year before last. the league just has a better idea of what they're going to see from him now. The league always adjusts. These hitters are still the best hitters in the world. Whatever you want to say about batting averages being down and strikeout rates being up, these are still the greatest hitters in the world. They will adjust to you. So the combination of they've all seen Paul Skeens now, and the wear and tear of his high-end velocity is starting to show up a little bit. Now it's his turn to adjust. I still think he will. He's too good. The aptitude's too high. The physical ability is too high for him to not, but we're waiting to see it happen. It's going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
We're talking with Kyle Glaser. We'll be talking with him for the next hour as we break down what happens on the MLB trade deadline. So the Padres added Robbie Ray. That has become official now. We talked a little bit about it in the last hour. But let's now discuss where the Padres go from here. We talked about they need starting pitching. We've talked about that, if they, further down the road want to be a little bit more on the left-handed bat spot, maybe they add that later, but they have to get to starting pitching. Let's discuss who's still out there, right? Reed Detmers officially has not been traded yet by the Angels. The Rangers, I thought, was interesting. They were kind of dangling the carrot about being a seller, but now they say that they don't want to sell. And Jacob deGrom, said he's not waiving his no-trade clause. But what is out there pitching-wise that you think, Kyle, the Padres could still go get that would immediately make an impact for this season?
I really like what Casey Mize is doing, what he offers. He's a rental, former number 1 overall pick. Took him a little bit of time to figure it out. And again, he's not one of those guys that when you look on the pitch design models, he's going to really pop. But he's big, he's physical, he has a deep arsenal, takes you deep into games, and guess what? At the end of the day, he's a heck of a lot more effective than a lot of these other guys who just pop on a model. So I really like the idea of adding him to this rotation, in part because he's able to pitch deeper into games. Clay Holmes is interesting. He's coming off of an injury. He's been on the IL the last 2 months with a broken fibula. Just had his final rehab start, but we don't know what he's going to look like. He might need a few starts to get, back to peak form against big league hitters. I look at Reed Detmers. I also look at Foster Griffin of the Nationals. A few weeks ago, when the Nationals were 1 game back, it didn't make sense to trade him. Now he's a rental. And again, you add a second lefty who can really pitch. He's come back over from Asia, deep arsenal, pitching deep into games, holding down good lineups in the NL East. That's a name I'd keep an eye out for. So I really do like the idea of Mize and Griffin at the top of that list. Holmes is interesting with the injury. Detmers, there's a lot of years of control there. That one will be tricky.
Yeah, and at this point, since the Cubs have reached out, and you heard some comments like they might be able to get Detmers. They have made a trade with the Angels for a bullpen arm, which I don't know if that means that they are not going to be able to get Reed Detmers, but that might be showing you some of maybe the price tag being incredibly high. But it sounds like, did you see the back for the Angels on the Zephyr trade?
I have not yet. I was waiting for that to come through.
Angels are getting catcher Moises Ballesteros and right-handed pitcher Mason McGuire for Zephyr John.
I think that's the best return the Angels have gotten. I know people are going to look at Arjun Nimala, the former first-round pick they got from the Blue Jays for Jose Soriano. I'm a little skeptical on his bat. Moises Ballesteros can rake, and he's ready to do so in the major leagues today. Whether or not he can catch, it's up for debate. He's a big boy, but I think of all the players the Angels have gotten back in all of their trades, and I've been very lukewarm on a lot of them, to me, this is actually the best trade they've made.
Let's talk about the Angels for a second. I mean, they finally went into, all right, let's start trading away some players. I mean, it's not crazy with who their interim general manager is to try to reshape that organization. I know they have a lot of they got to deal with Artie Moreno over there, so it's not necessarily an easy job to be the general manager of the Halos, and who knows if he's going to stay there. But so far they've done a pretty good job of saying, like, you know what, we don't need to hang on to these players. Let's start trying to focus for the future, and they've got some pretty decent returns back.
Yeah, I've been kind of lukewarm on some of their returns. One thing to keep in mind with John Mozeliak, when he was leading the Cardinals, they did a lot of buy trades because they were buyers more often than not, and they did pretty well on them. More recently, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, they crushed those trades. The Cardinals were very rarely sellers, and the few sell trades they made, it was kind of a mixed bag. So just to be clear, I thought the Logan O'Hoppe, Chase Silseth for Angel Arredondo trade was awful. That never should have happened. That the return has to be 3 or 4 of those guys, not one. The Jose Soriano trade, it is what it is. Joe Adele, I don't think they got enough back. but I like this Ryan Zephyr-John trade a lot. I think that's a move where, again, you're getting a young, controllable, impact big league bat who can help you today and 4 or 5 years from now. Those are the kind of trades the Angels should be making. They have talent. They're a terrible team. They have individual talent. Now it's about maximizing the talent in all these returns. I think they've done okay in some, less well in others. We'll see what the final tally looks like at the end of the day, especially if they do end up moving Detmers between now and the deadline.
Houston Astros finalizing a deal to acquire center fielder Dalton Varsho from the Toronto Blue Jays. Sources tell ESPN Jeff Passan had it, as well as Mitch Bannon. Sounds like it's pretty close. Sounds like this return will be starting pitcher Spencer Arrighetti. The Blue Jays have been very active today in preparing for the future, and with a lot of their moves, they do help them now, but also in the future. We saw John Heyman said the Padres were looking at Dalton Varsho a little bit. So Dalton Varsho's off the board. Astros, how about the Astros sweeping the Rangers and playing some really good baseball? They have played their way back into a buyer seat, and they add Dalton Varsho to add to their other moves that they already made.
Yeah, no question. It's a mistake to count the Astros out, especially in an AL West where no one seems to be able to put together a winning record. There's too much talent there, even after all the guys they lost. You still have Yordan Alvarez. You still have Jeremy Pena. Yeah, I like this move, right? Dalton Varsho is one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball. There's real left-handed power there. And from the Blue Jays' perspective, we talked about this, right? That, yes, they're trading veterans like Kevin Gausman, Dalton Varsho, but the guys they're getting back are in the big leagues. Jose Soriano is a big leaguer with multiple years of control. Spencer Arrighetti has pitched and started games in the major leagues and is ready to have a regular rotation spot. I like what the Blue Jays are doing. They're not trading these guys for guys who are low A, he's 20, he's 3-4 years away. We like the underlying, plate discipline, but he has to answer. None of that. They're getting guys who will help them next year. And that's the right move for this franchise. So I like it for the Astros. I like what the Blue Jays are doing. It's funny. We talk about sellers. I think the Blue Jays have actually been the best seller this deadline. You don't really think of them as sellers, but they have been.
We haven't talked about the Red Sox making a trade with the Orioles for Adley Rutschman, an interdivision trade. They gave up a lot for Adley Rutschman. The Orioles were like throwing him out there a little bit throughout the entire season. Obviously, they got Samuel Basallo as part of their org. They seem to be like loading up on, again, just some minor leaguers, but after signing Pete Alonso during the offseason, I mean, this move is interesting to me for Baltimore. It doesn't seem like they really have too much of a plan. But for the Red Sox, they played their way into being a contender with the insane run they've been on. They just swept the Dodgers, and they go get some serious catching help.
The Red Sox deserve a lot of credit. We talk about teams who looked like they were going nowhere, had nothing going for them. It was only a couple months ago they fired Alex Cora, and this team looked like it was going down the drain. This organization looked like it was going down the drain when how the Devers situation was handled last year, with how the Cora situation was handled this year. They brought in interim manager and Chad Tracy, who I actually covered when he was the manager of the Inland Empire 66ers, high for the Angels. And even then, you could tell this guy's a big league future. This guy's smart. He gets it. He knows how to communicate. He's gotten his shot, and he has completely turned the ship around. He deserves a ton of credit. They need to get the interim tag off of him and make him their full-time manager. I do think the Red Sox, given how weak the American League is overall, if they get in, they can absolutely do some damage. Now you add Adley Rutschman, who Orioles fans got way too down on, is a switch-hitting catcher who gives you above-average offense, good defense behind the plate, and is an elite leader in the clubhouse. Yeah, this is the kind of guy that can carry you over the top, and I think being in a healthier, actual winning organization, I wouldn't be shocked to see him kind of produce more.
I did see, Robert Murray has been the guy that, as everybody continued to say that the Padres might need to sell Mason Miller. This was before they went on their hot streak. Yeah. Robert Murray was the guy that was saying, I just don't see that happening with what AJ Preller is. Yeah. He had reported earlier, not too long ago that, AJ Preller is lurking and might be involved with a lot more that's getting reported. I know that probably doesn't surprise you, but in all these years, being from San Diego, and obviously you've paid attention probably more closely to San Diego than all the other teams that you've paid attention to, in watching AJ Preller at the trade deadline, what can you tell us about what AJ Preller is like from what you've heard around organizations about like the calls he makes and what a trade deadline day is like for AJ Preller?
Well, I can tell you last year, he slept 1 hour in the 24 hours leading up to the trade deadline. AJ Preller is extraordinarily aggressive. We talk about so many GMs and front offices in the game today being risk averse, clutching onto their prospects. AJ Preller goes completely the other direction. And when there's a player that he really, really wants, he locks onto that player and does not give up, for better or worse. Sometimes he has gotten, you could argue, borderline obsessive about a player, and it has led him to trade away too much for said player. That has happened. But there's no question that the level of aggressiveness and persistence, keep in mind the Mason Miller trade, that didn't just come together last year. He was told no multiple times, multiple weeks beforehand, and he kept going until he got him. That is what AJ Preller is like. There's a former executive who put it really, really well. He said that AJ Preller and the Padres are 28 days later level aggressive. Like that zombie, they're just coming after you again and again and again and again. That's what it's like.
Let's talk about some of the rumors then for the Padres that have been linked to. I mean, we talked about the Jackson Holiday thing already. The one that I thought was interesting over the weekend, and we've heard a couple of stirrings about it, considering the Padres situation of not having a highly ranked farm system, and you know this better than other people. I mean, every organization ranks other organizations' farm systems differently. There's certain talent that the Padres might like more than like the Orioles and vice versa. There could be somebody that's like the 25th best prospect for the Padres that some org thinks is like the best prospect that they really want. We heard the reports that they might have to add payroll. Maybe that's something. Maybe with the new ownership group, they can add some payroll. And so you saw some reports over the weekend about, a guy like Rafael Devers. People have rumored that that's another guy that AJ Preller has always coveted and all this other thing. Like, I know he casts a wide net. That was an interesting one to me. What was your, reaction on the potential news? And there hasn't been anything since this weekend about a guy like Rafael Devers and maybe the Giants paying off some of it, and you add him as that left-handed bat.
I had gotten wind of that a little prior to this weekend. And yes, Rafael Devers is one of those players that AJ Preller loves, has always loved, dating back to when he was an amateur sign with the Red Sox. Given the salary still owed to him, given the production levels falling, given he's always had fitness issues and is now moving into his 30s, and given, how should I say this? There's definitely some clubhouse team dynamic stuff there with him that isn't the greatest in the world. It's not the worst, but it's not the greatest. To me, that would be, we talk about AJ Preller does a lot of things well. This would be the wrong type of move. We see AJ Preller sometimes get obsessive about certain players who really aren't that good anymore, but because he's loved them forever, he wants them no matter what, and it causes him to make mistakes. That's what this would be with Rafael Devers. So I'll say this, kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth. It would not shock me if AJ Preller acquires Rafael Devers. I think doing so would make the Padres a worse team.
I will say this, too, like so a lot of people have talked about, maybe not necessarily him seeing eye to eye with his teammates. I think that's probably the nicest way of saying some of that. I think a lot of Padres fans say, like, well, Nick Castellanos got a little bit of a bad rap, and it didn't seem like he was a problem here. That doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be something that works. I mean, I just feel like you're trying to force a square peg into a round hole, if that's the case. I think there's a certain price that if you made it, if he's not getting paid a certain amount, I think you can make it work, but it seems like it's going to be moving a lot of hoops.
Look, if the Giants want to take Xander Bogaerts' contract and make him swap up bad contracts, sure, yeah, absolutely do it. But we know that's not happening. And the thing with Nick Castellanos, and this is where it's really important to really know and understand players at an individual level. Nick Castellanos, he could just be ornery sometimes and overly honest. And yeah, that would rub some people the wrong way. But those aren't fundamental flaws. Rafael Devers' issue is I'll just say it. He does not put in the work. He doesn't. He has always struggled with his fitness. He has always struggled with work ethic. And that is something that over time, your teammates will lose respect for you for. That is a much more serious issue than, he's ornery, he can be brutally honest, maybe he rubs you the wrong way. So again, does Rafael Devers come to San Diego, magically decide to get into the best shape of his life and, get back to being what people thought he might be when he was younger? Never say never, but the track record here isn't great of that happening.
John Heyman just tweeted out that the Padres are trying to get a left-handed bat. He has 3 names listed. When we come back, we're going to talk about those 3 names that the Padres might be interested in and hear what Kyle has to say about what the best fit might possibly be. This is the Braden Surprenant Show. You're watching on YouTube and you're listening live on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We didn't get to this, but I do want to mention that we do it all the time at 12:50. It's trade deadline coverage day today. But if you could take me down in sports trivia, we usually have a prize available for you. We usually do our midday sports standoff. This week, we might have a special prize. So stay tuned for that later this week. I'm Braden Surprenant. He's Frank Marchese. Joining us live in studio on the SDCCU fan microphone is Kyle Glaser. He's our baseball analyst. SDCCU, it's not big bank banking, it's better. We got 2 segments left. This one's gonna be a little bit shorter, and then we'll go heavy with the long one. But the tweet that we saw going to break, John Heyman reporting the Padres trying on Trevor Larnach, as well as Alec Burleson and Lars Nootbaar. Want a lefty hitter, uncertain how available Larnach is. We did get the report earlier. They're still looking for a starting pitcher. And we heard that A.J. Preller's just kind of lurking in the shadows, which I know scares a lot of general managers out there. But let's talk about these 3 in particular. Obviously, Kyle, take your pick of who you would want the most on the Padres, and who is the most reasonable you think the Padres could acquire if these 3 are in fact available?
Yeah, I mean, Alec Burleson and Trevor Larnach can both mash. Burleson is the better of the 2, but if I'm the Padres, I'm equally happy getting either of them. Both of them have multiple years of control left and are productive, young left-handed hitters in their 20s. They're not going to come cheap. So I think on the one hand, yes, if you're the Padres, you'd absolutely love to add one of these guys. It's going to be easier said than done, and I have a hard time seeing either the Cardinals or Twins accepting a trade for them without giving up one of, their premium pitching prospects like a Cash Mayfield or someone off the Major League roster. These guys are just too good.
Let's talk about the Major League roster. I thought we got a lot of reports from our local reporters here that the Padres could potentially trade from the bullpen. Yep. And I think a lot of fans just assumed it was because at the time it was either the beginning part of the winning streak or on the current, on that big road trip where they dropped 3 games in Atlanta and didn't look very good against Kansas City. And so people were thinking maybe an Adrian Morejon or a Mason Miller. But there's a lot of other arms out there that might be available for teams that are intriguing for teams just because of the fact that teams need arms right now, and the Padres got a lot of good ones. I know we've seen guys like Yuki Matsui and Freddy Peralta in the past not necessarily put up the best of numbers, but if you look at their overall numbers for this year, they've had some pretty good years this season. And there's a lot of players that are available, I think, in that Padres bullpen that you do have to get rid of to actually fill the rest of the roster out with a lot of guys coming back from injury.
And with the Padres, this is the area of depth, right? We talk about what do you want to trade from. It's where you have depth to absorb any losses. The one position group the Padres have that is the bullpen. You're absolutely right. I think there's a lot to the idea of trading Freddy Peralta and Yuki Matsui when they're performing at their absolute best. Matsui, the Padres would have to eat some of that contract. But I do think you could see something for Peralta. Teams always need help, and particularly left-handed relief help. It's amazing what some teams will give up for mid-leverage, low left-handed relievers. But the guy that I think makes the most sense in terms of you can get something particularly impactful for him is Jeremiah Estrada. That is a late-inning arm. Again, for a lot of teams, he would be their 8th-inning setup guy. And yes, he struggles against the Dodgers, but if you're the Minnesota Twins, that's not a problem. That's the guy that if the Padres were to go make a move for, again, a Larnach or a Burleson, I think you include Estrada, add in the prospects, and go from there.
You think that works for St. Louis, too? That's kind of like right there, ready to compete?
St. Louis is going to put more emphasis on the prospects. The Twins are going to put a little more emphasis on the bullpen and the big leaguers because despite the fact they're under 500, they're a game out of the playoffs because the American League has just, no one seems to be able to separate when you talk about the wild card teams. So it depends a little bit on which team and which player you're talking about, but there's no question every team in baseball would love to add a high leverage right-handed arm with multiple years of control left like Estrada has.
You didn't say Nootbaar for the 3 at all. We didn't really talk about him. Yeah. The Padres end up with Nootbaar. Are you less excited?
Different kind of player. So Lars Nootbaar can play all 3 positions. Let's be clear. Larnach and Burleson are pure corner guys. Larnach and left, Burleson right. Nootbaar is not anywhere near the caliber of hitter they are. He gets on base, but both from a contact and power perspective, you're talking about an entirely different tier of hitter and a much lesser tier of hitter. What he adds is great clubhouse vibes, and he can play all three outfield positions. So if I'm the Padres, and again, I have somewhat limited trade capital given the state of my farm system, I don't think you go for Newport. I think you try for the other two. Again, I still think starting pitching needs to be their priority here, but if they are going to get a left-handed bat, to me, Burleson and Larnach are not just one tier above Newport, I'd say multiple tiers above Newport in terms of the impact that they would offer the rest of the season.
Since we don't have any other big news right now, we're going to keep you updated. If that does happen, we'll get to it. And we've had a lot of rumors right now with the Padres. I would imagine with Gwynn and Chris, you're going to, I think you're going to be a little bit more active. Let's talk about what happened over the weekend. The Dodgers got Tarik Skubal, right? I think a lot of people have just immediately went, it's way too light of a move. I can't believe this is the package that they got. And we complained about the Brewers and what they probably could have offered. Yeah. What did you think about what the Dodgers sent for Tarik Skubal, and what do you think the Brewers could have realistically offered, knowing how that organization works?
The Dodgers did extremely well here. Again, all the players they gave up have something you like. Zaire Hope, I do think, is a guy that has a chance to be a dynamic power speed outfielder. River Ryan, he's been hurt. He's a late conversion to pitching guy, but there's real stuff there. And Brady Smith's a good young arm. But for Tarik Skubal, even 2 months of him, yeah, that's a no-brainer. You absolutely make that deal every time. So the Dodgers did great there getting Skubal for those guys. And they didn't give up any of their top prospects, any of their top big leaguers. These guys were all lower down their rankings. The Brewers screwed up, plain and simple. The Milwaukee Brewers could have easily dwarfed that package, and I would argue needed Tarik Skubal more than the Dodgers did to actually have a chance to win a World Series. And here's what people miss when they talk about, the Dodgers, they're so deep they can absorb those losses and not have it hurt them. The Brewers being small market, no. The Brewers, and to the Brewers' credit, they have done a tremendous job. They have built up a massive amount of organizational depth in the majors and the minors. And with that, they have some really talented prospects in the minors that have no place to play for the Milwaukee Brewers anytime in the next 5 years. You look at their middle infield, they are set. Bryce Terang, Cooper Pratt, and Jesus Mate, I get, you don't want to trade Mate for a rental. But Luis Pena, that's a top 50 prospect. He has nowhere to play in Milwaukee. His value to the Brewers is solely as a trade chip. Jet Williams will never play in Milwaukee. I do not see a scenario in which between the shortstop, second base, and the outfield, there's no place for him to play. His biggest value to the Brewers is as a trade chip. They have a ton of outfielders as well, both in the majors and minors. They could easily trade any of them, and a couple of them are top 100 guys. The Brewers could have traded 3 top 100 caliber prospects and not had it materially affect their future at all, while greatly improving their present. That's what they should have done, but they're a model-driven team, and the model says that's too much to give away for a 2-month rental, no matter who it is, and so they didn't do it. And this is where the model cannot take into account the qualitative factors, such as your organizational depth, your chances of winning a World Series, all the things that actually convince teams, and the teams that are able to win a World Series know they have to consider. The Brewers don't consider them. They just stick to the model.
That might be a big reason why the Brewers haven't been able to make it through the playoffs the last handful of years.
And here's what I will say. Every single team that has won a World Series has made an impactful deadline addition, from the Dodgers to the Royals. The Dodgers in 2024, Michael Kopech, Tommy Edman, Jack Flaherty. If they don't make those additions, they don't win the World Series in 2024. Back to the Royals in 2015, if they don't add Ben Zobrist and Johnny Cueto at the deadline, they don't win the World Series. Small market, big market, doesn't matter. You have to be bold. There's a point where you have to make a trade of top tier prospects to go get those big time veterans that will get you over the hump, even if they're rentals. This is the Brewers' window to do it, both where they are in the standings and what their organization looks like, and they completely whiffed on it.
Completely whiffed. I agree. We did our little rant on that earlier. We'll talk more about that when we come back. We're also going to get you the final look at what our show can provide you before the trade deadline. Trade deadline's at 3 o'clock. We continue our coverage next with Kyle Glaser, leading into Gwynn and Chris, and that's going to be the final hour that teams can make a move. I sense a little bit of like a break before we start getting probably a lot of rumors getting thrown out there, so we'll let you know what happens on the other side. So who operates like? Final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We still got a lot to break down here as we talk a lot about what's going on in the MLB trade deadline day. Trade deadline's at 3 o'clock. We got about an hour and 15 minutes, just over that, until the trade deadline. Kyle Glaser is going to stay in studio with Gwen and Chris during the next show to kind of reset a lot of the things he has already talked about and also live react to what's going on around Major League Baseball. But, overall, I think we've had a pretty exciting day of trades. I mean, you're not getting the big blockbuster. I think you got that one over the weekend. But, going into this trade deadline, Kyle, this was not like a trade deadline that had a lot of players that were massive, big blockbuster type players on teams that were really bad. You really only had two names that could potentially be, quote, a blockbuster. One of them was Tarik Skubal, ended up going. The other one was Mason Miller, and the Padres who played their way out of potentially selling, which would have been a disastrous 1 year of Mason Miller having to give up Leo DeVries for just 1 year of him. So all said and done, I think this is a pretty active trade deadline this year.
It definitely is, and you're right. Tarik Skubal was the headliner, and the big question for a while was, will the Tigers move him? Let's not forget, they were in the race up until a couple of days ago. So I will say that while there might not be other players for these big headliners, on the billboard guys, there's a lot of talented players changing uniforms that I think will have an impact on the rest of this season. And then for the players who are staying with their new teams, seasons beyond. The Yankees getting Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia has very quietly been on a Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson level of production as a first baseman in the National League. Freddy Peralta and Kevin Gausman, those guys are rentals. Yes, they were having rough years. Would anyone be shocked if they get somewhere new, get a fresh start, and just dominate down the stretch? Absolutely not. I see a lot of really interesting guys as well, like, Braxton Garrett's still young. I wouldn't be shocked if he takes off. I still think that the Angels guys, Jose Soriano, Joe Adell, I'll throw Logan O'Hoppe in here, getting them out of that organization and into functional organizations, it would not shock me if they all take off. And of course, Luis Arias, think he'll do great in Philly, and Adley Rutschman, again, that's a trade that we didn't expect to happen. I think he'll do good things in Boston. So again, there are a lot of really good players who've been traded. And oh, by the way, to your point, I think we're going to have rapid fire here the final hour. That 2 to 3 o'clock, we're going to get boom, 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 back to back to back.
Now, Diamondbacks haven't done anything yet. They're in contention right now. We haven't seen, a handful of teams that are still in it, making big enough moves. Padres still looking for a starting pitcher and a left-handed bat. We've seen a lot of different names out there, for those players. So it's going to be interesting to see. Excuse me. It's going to be interesting to see what we got here in the final hour or so. We haven't talked too much about Arias. You mentioned you liked it. They have to reshift everything defensively in order to accommodate Arias being a second baseman. He wasn't the best second baseman for the Padres, but I think working with Ron Washington has really improved his defensive skills, and now you can actually account for him being a solid second baseman and move things around. Can this work now with Bryce Harper being in the outfield and the defensive shift that the Phillies have to do in order to accommodate Luis Arias?
Yes. So first and foremost, Luis Arias has been an above-average defensive second baseman working with Ron Washington this year, which is incredible. It's a testament to him and Ron Washington, and he's back to being the kind of hitter we know he can be. Last year was an aberration. Anytime you can get a premium contact hitter who can play up the middle, you acquire him and you figure it out. In terms of Bryce Harper playing the outfield, look, having him run around out there every single day the rest of the season, that's not going to be smart. But you build in some DH days, you build in an off day here or there, you can make it work. So at the end of the day, the Phillies made their lineup deeper. They added a new dynamic with that contact, which they needed. I think this is a good move that made the Phillies better, and they will be able to figure out the defensive alignment, just given, again, I'll say this, if we didn't have the DH in the National League, I'd feel very differently. But because we now have it and have the last few years, it's fine.
I think it's a solid move for Philadelphia. I mean, Luis Arias, pretty good year this year for the San Francisco Giants. Okay, Heyman tweeting out that Clay Holmes is on the move. I don't know if you saw that one come down, but your reaction to the Cubs-Mets trade as the Cubs acquire even more pitching.
It sounds like it's going to be Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor for the Cubs' number 2 prospect, Jefferson Rojas.
Yeah. So remember what I said earlier that I think the Cubs are having the best trade deadline of anybody?
Yes.
Add this to that. I think they have done a great job. They needed a lot of arms, both starters and relievers. They've gone out and done that. Jefferson Rojas is a really good young prospect. And look, there are a lot of times that we hear about these prospects and they get hyped up and they're not actually that good. And, that was a big part of my role at Baseball America, covering the majors as well as the prospects, is really sorting out, okay, who's actually good and who's hype. Jefferson Rojas is a good young player, a genuinely good young player for a Mets team that has to play for the future. Yeah, that's a nice pickup. But in terms of impact, adding Clay Holmes, assuming he's able to come back from his broken leg, I mean, that's a guy you feel pretty good handing the ball to in game 3 of a playoff series. Not game 1 or 2, but game 3, absolutely. I really like what the Cubs have done this trade deadline.
They're not afraid to trade away some of their prospects. Obviously, they're going for it. And I totally agree with you, Kyle. I think they smell blood in the water with the Brewers. And the Brewers are bringing back guys like Dustin May. And the Cubs are like, we're reshaping our entire pitching staff because we know we got one of the best offenses in the game. I mean, the last couple of weeks, their pitching staff hasn't been very good, but they've put up like 10 runs almost every single game. I know the Yankees series was a little bit different this weekend, but the Cubs are have at the beginning of the year all the way through have put up some huge numbers offensively, and the only thing holding them back was their pitching staff, and that's not even their fault. I mean, it's because of a lot of injuries, and the Cubs have now addressed that situation.
Right. Justin Steele was supposed to come back and said he got hurt again. And oh, by the way, they also subtracted Jameson Taillon. I think that was another good move as well. So you're getting rid of the guys who are holding you back. You're adding better, more impactful starters. And again, it's not like we're talking one starter here. They've added 3. Yeah, all of a sudden, if you're the Cubs and you can roll out Kevin Gausman, Shota Imanaga, Clay Holmes, and Braxton Garrett potentially as your 4, you're in really good shape. And then if Edward Cabrera comes off the IL and can actually throw strikes, that's a flamethrower too. So yeah, the Cubs have gone from, okay, yeah, they're an incredible offense. Pitching staff needs help. They're going to win a wild card series and maybe get to a DS to, hey, they might have enough to beat the Brewers now. I would not be shocked if we see the Cubs go on a run here and take the NL Central from the Brewers.
Kind of do a reverse of last year of catching Milwaukee after Milwaukee caught them last year. Let's we got another one too. Tampa Bay is acquiring Tyler Wells from the Baltimore Orioles, according to Jeff Passan out there in the American League East. We got a couple of minutes left before you go on with Quinn and Chris, which we'll see in the next hour, Kyle. We've talked about the Padres a lot, but in the next hour, who are some teams you want to see make moves, and who are what are some moves you'd like to see these teams make in the next hour for you to be like, you know what, they had a pretty good deadline?
I mean, we'll start right here. The Padres need to add at least one more starting pitcher. I think if they do that, you can say, okay, they got what they needed this deadline.
So even if they don't get a left-handed bat, if they just get another starting pitcher, you'd be like, all right, they did what they needed to do.
As long as it's the right starting pitcher. Right. If they go out and get Casey Mize, I'll be like, yeah, that's a good deadline. You add Casey Mize, Robbie Ray, even if there's nothing else, that would be a good deadline. If it's just Robbie Ray and a left-handed bat, I would say they didn't get what they really needed most, which was another starter. I mean, again, we're going to repeat ourselves. The Brewers have to do something. And yes, I know they acquired Dustin May, but look, they missed on Tarik Skubal. They screw that up. Okay, fine, whatever. They then let Freddy Peralta go somewhere else. They let Kevin Gausman go somewhere else. They've let so many other quality pitchers that they could have acquired for nothing, as far as they're concerned, go somewhere else. I just think they have to do something here. Otherwise, it's a complete and total failure. And they're smart enough. They should know that. But again, model-driven teams, sometimes they become slaves to the models, and it stifles their ability to actually go do what they need to do.
You surprised the Yankees haven't really done anything outside of the Luis Garcia Jr.? I mean, they're a team that's needed some serious bullpen help. Have they done enough?
No, they need to add another reliever. Again, David Bednar's been pretty good for them, but yeah, they could absolutely add another reliever or two. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that happen here in the next hour. Luke Weaver going to the Pirates, that takes, someone off the board that they were familiar with, they know, and they loved. Yes, the Yankees absolutely need to add some relief help, but I will say adding Luis Garcia Jr., look, this is a lineup that if you take Aaron Judge out of it, is kind of an average offense. Mm-hmm. Now you take out Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger and Giancarlo Stanton. They haven't been very good. So I will say that I do think that's an impactful enough move where I'd be like, yeah, the Yankees did well, but yes, they absolutely need to add some bullpen help.
Yeah, it sounded like maybe. I mean, we've heard a lot of the connections between the Yankees and the Padres bullpen, but I don't think they might be able to get the two guys that they were looking for earlier the last couple of weeks.
Definitely not. But again, we see all the time teams and trade discussions start with, okay, we like this guy. No, let's go down the list. How about this guy? No, let's go down the list. How about this guy? Again, Jeremiah Estrada would look really good in Yankee pinstripes. He would help them tremendously. What do the Padres get back for him? Again, I have a hard time seeing the Yankees giving up one of their controllable young starters with Jeremiah Estrada as the anchor. That said, we have seen a lot of deals go down this deadline where I've been like, really? That's it? So you never know.
Yeah, I do want to. We have like a minute or so left. We talked about that before you jumped on with us. What do you think that changes for the Padres? Do you think now with the way the market has been set in terms of price tags for some of these players, even with the farm system they have, do you think they're able to acquire what they need without having giving up one of their top three?
They're more likely to be able to. There's no question. I talked about how the Padres dynamic has shifted, winning 8 of 9, but the second part of it is with what we're seeing market prices, the Padres are not going to have to pay very much to get some players who can make an impact for them. They're in good shape.
Would you be more shocked if they actually gave up a Salas, a Schoolcraft, or a Mayfield for a player, assuming it's not like some big name out of nowhere?
I wouldn't be shocked because A.J. Preller sometimes will do that. He'll overpay compared to the market, but they don't need to, so we'll see what they end up doing.
Thank you to Kyle Glaser for joining us on the show today. That'll do it for us. That was a quick 4 hours. Padres got Robbie Ray. What else do they have in store? Kyle will be on with Gwen and Chris next. We will be talking to you tomorrow, recapping the trade deadline, hopefully talking about a Padres win.